Chapter 793. The cold night was dotted with stars. Under the moonlight, 3 figures quickly flew past, disappearing into the night. Behind them, Een-Er's speed was growing faster and faster, flames of fury surging from her eyes. After chasing for 300 miles, a dilapidated temple appeared in front of them. The 2 of them rushed in and disappeared. Een-Er chased after them, but as soon as she entered the temple, she felt the world around her change. White mist filled the air, blocking her path. At the same time, a faint light filled the air above the temple. Black arrows fell from the sky, each of them dripping with poison. Een-Er sensed this and raised her red sword. Immediately, red light blossomed and sword chi filled the sky, blocking the black arrows. After the arrow rain, a palm energy tore through the air. It was unknown where it had come from within the white mist. Een-Er waved her sword and scattered the palm energy. She took a step forward. The white mist grew thicker and thicker, and they couldn't find its end. A strange formation had sealed off the exit, making it difficult for them to leave. Within the formation, the seductive woman sneered. This was a formation unique to Een-Gui sect. As long as it didn't see sunlight, the mist would never disappear. One night was enough for them to exhaust this woman's strength and capture her without a fight. Right at this moment, above the ruined temple, a green lotus bloomed, and a green divine spear pierced through the air. With a loud bang, it dispersed the mist that filled the sky. Corporeal realm. The 2 of them were startled. Up in the sky, a beautiful green figure descended from the sky. Her eyes were filled with killing intent as she approached. The 2 of them received the attack. With a violent tremor, they were both sent flying. Sister Qing-Ning, Master is in their hands. Seeing who it was, Een-Er shouted anxiously. Yes. Qing-Ning nodded and walked forward step by step. Her expression was icy as she coldly asked, "Where is he?" "Inside." The seductive woman answered in alarm. How could there be a corporeal realm expert here? Who were these people? Een-Er, watch them. I'll go inside and take a look. Qing-Ning frowned as she looked at the dilapidated hall in front of her. She then walked inside. Een-Er looked at the 2 of them cautiously. These 2 were very cunning. She couldn't let them escape. "What do we do?" asked the seductive woman. "Let's split up and run before that woman notices us," the man said in a deep voice. After making up their minds, the 2 of them didn't hesitate any longer. They struck out with their palms at the same time and quickly fled in 2 different directions. In the blink of an eye, a green light flashed. The heavenly dragon breaks the city pierced through the man with a spear, causing blood to splatter everywhere. On the other side, Een-Er held her sword horizontally in front of the seductive woman, anger flashing across her pretty face. The woman wanted to resist, but the blue divine spear stopped an inch away from her throat. "Where did you hide him?" Qing-Ning's face grew colder and colder as she asked in a low voice. "You will never find him." A trace of madness flashed across the woman's charming face. With a muffled groan, black blood silently flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Qing-Ning's expression changed. She took a step forward and tried to save him, but it was too late. To the side, Een-Er stood there, not daring to breathe loudly. She knew that she had gotten herself into big trouble and didn't dare to say a word. Qing-Ning examined the woman for a while and frowned. Although her cultivation was not weak, her breath was mottled and messy. She was not a decent person. Een-Er. Qing-Ning turned around and shouted. "Sister Qing-Ning." Een-Er walked forward nervously and answered. "Go check what large sects there are in this region. These 2 people aren't weak, and they can't be from small sects," said Qing-Ning. "All right." Een hastily nodded and immediately left. Qing-Ning stood in the ruined temple and released her divine sense, searching every inch of the area. There was a strangely shaped hall located at an unknown location. Within the hall, a strange yin qi filled the air. Women in revealing clothes were laughing and having fun. That decadent atmosphere made one's blood boil. Suddenly, a strange light rose within the hall, and a white-haired figure in plain clothes appeared and landed on the ground. A red-robed woman stopped smiling and walked forward. When she saw the snake-shaped mark on the clothes, she was disappointed. "It's Huan Ji's food." "How disappointing," said the pink-robed woman unhappily. A green-robed woman walked forward and glanced at the white-haired figure on the ground. She said in confusion, "Strange, why would Huan Ji send a sickly person back? Who knows? Don't worry about her. Men, take her away and look after her. Don't let her starve to death," said the pink-robed woman impatiently. "Yes." Two young men walked in with their heads lowered. They lifted the person on the ground and prepared to leave. "Wait." At this moment, a gentle voice was heard, and the girls immediately bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Saintess." As he spoke, an enchanting figure walked out. She wore a light pink dress that accentuated her exquisite and alluring figure. She wore a thin layer of makeup, and her beautiful eyebrows were slightly curved like willow leaves. There was a light vermilion dot on her forehead, and she was charming and moving. Her sparkling and translucent earrings hung down and swayed gently with her footsteps. Her black hair that was scattered around her shoulders was tied up with a blood-red hairpin and inserted diagonally into her flowing cloud-like black hair. "Something happened to Huan Ji," said Yin Gue Saintess indifferently. The women were startled. Huan Ji was at the mid-illusory realm. Even if she wasn't a peak expert, as long as she didn't encounter a corporeal realm old monster, she would have no problem keeping herself alive. Yin Gue Saintess looked at the white-haired man and asked, "Was this person sent back by Huan Ji?" "Saintess, this person was indeed sent back by Huan Ji," the red-clothed woman respectfully replied. Yin Gue Saintess walked forward and looked at the sleeping white-haired man. A moment later, she casually said, "Since Huan Ji is dead, you can deal with this person as you see fit." Yin Gue Saintess didn't say anything else and turned to leave. "Sisters, if no one wants this man, you can leave him for me to test my medicine." The green-clothed woman looked at the other women and smiled. "Oh, since fourth sister is so impatient, I won't fight with you. You can take this man away." The red-clothed woman smiled. "Then I'll thank elder sister." Dan Ji gracefully bowed and waved her hand to bring the white-haired man to her side palace. Fourth sister rarely takes the initiative to ask for someone. "Is there something special about this person?" A yellow-clothed woman walked forward and asked. The red-clothed woman shook her head and said, "I've already checked him. He's no different from an ordinary person. Otherwise, the Saintess wouldn't have given him to us. I heard that fourth sister has refined several kinds of medicinal pills that can increase one's cultivation. However, their toxicity is too great. Ordinary people will immediately bleed from their 7 orifices and die. I think fourth sister wants this person to test her medicine," said a blue-clothed woman. "What a pitiful man. Now that he's in fourth sister's hands, he won't even be able to enjoy himself before his death." The yellow-clothed woman rejoiced in his misfortune. Within the pill room, flames were leaping about under a huge pill furnace. The shocking temperature caused the surrounding space to distort. This was where Yin Gue Saintess refined pills all year round. Who knew how many skeletons were buried here? Not even corpses were left behind. She casually tossed the white-haired man to the side of the pill furnace and walked over to the pill rack. She took out a bottle of pills that had already been refined and returned. "Please don't die so quickly." Dan Ji took out a pill and stuffed it into the man's mouth with a smile. When the pill entered his mouth, it dissolved into his stomach. Dan Ji circulated her cultivation to help him absorb the pill's energy. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour passed, but there was still no change to the man's body. The pill that had dissolved into his stomach was like a stone sinking into the ocean. It didn't cause the slightest ripple. "Oh." After waiting for a long time, Danji still didn't see what she had imagined happen. She extended her hand to check the man's pulse to find out the reason. Several breaths later, Danji frowned. Even if this person could endure the pill's poison, his true chi should have exploded. Why wasn't there any change? After thinking for a long time, Danji still couldn't figure out the reason. She took out a different pill and stuffed it into the man's mouth. An hour later, the result she had imagined still hadn't occurred. Danji checked the man's veins and her expression became grave. Something was wrong. This person's body was like a bottomless pit. No matter how much medicinal energy she had given him, none of it leaked out. Fourth sister, is that person dead? Just at this moment, a charming voice rang out outside the pill room. Danji came back to her senses. She wanted to hide the man in front of her, but it was already too late. Meiji walked in. She was wearing a red translucent dress. Her beautiful face had an enchanting smile that made people not dare to look directly at her. Big sister. Danji stood up and bowed. We're sisters. There's no need to be so polite. Meiji smiled and nodded. She looked at the white-haired man in front of the pill furnace and her smile gradually changed. It seems you've already tested the pill. Next to the white-haired man were two open pill bottles that explained what had happened. Meiji maintained her smile and said, I didn't think you'd really find a treasure. Danji's smile faded and she bowed seriously. Please keep this a secret for me. I know it's not easy to find someone to test the pill. This person's constitution is very important to me. Meiji chuckled. We're all sisters. You're being too polite. Come, let me see what kind of treasure you've found. While speaking, Meiji walked forward and checked the man's veins. A moment later, she was surprised. He wasn't poisoned and she didn't feel any changes in his body. It was really strange. Did little sister really feed him pills? Meiji raised her head and asked in surprise. Danji nodded and said softly, a heaven equalizing pill and a supreme transformation pill. Hearing this, Meiji was even more surprised. She knew that fourth sister had refined these two pills. One could allow a mortal to directly enter the Xiantian realm, while the other could allow a powerhouse of the third calamity to directly enter the Great Circle realm. However, the side effects of these two pills were equally shocking. After taking them, one would definitely die within an hour. Little sister, why don't you let me enjoy such a treasure as well? Meiji rubbed the man's delicate face and smiled. Danji was startled, but then she smiled. Big sister, this person only has a special constitution. He doesn't have any cultivation base. Even if he has some yang qi, it won't enter your eyes. Why fight with me? That's hard to say. I've only just discovered that this person is also very handsome. I'm sure his yang qi is also extraordinary. I'll borrow him for 2 days before returning to you, said Meiji. Chapter 794. In the elixir room of the Imgue sect, Meiji's words froze the atmosphere. The whole room became so quiet that even the sound of a needle dropping could be heard. The smile on Danji's face disappeared, and a dangerous light flickered in the depths of her eyes. After a while, she smiled and said, since you like him so much, you can take him away. But please be merciful and don't kill him. You must be joking. How can I hurt your precious baby? Meiji smiled and said. Then I'll have to thank you, big sister. Danji bowed. You're welcome. I won't disturb you anymore. Meiji chuckled. Then she waved her hand and took the plainclothed man on the ground, and walked out of the elixir room. Danji looked at the back of the former, and clenched her fists. She was too careless. In the Zhuyan Palace, on a luxurious and wide bed, a transparent curtain was hanging. Below it, a plainclothed man with white hair was lying quietly with a peaceful look, as if he was asleep. The knowing destiny state cultivator who had been tired all his life could only stop running and take a short rest when he was in a coma. Meiji stepped forward and raised her hand to touch the man's face. She smiled and said, "Look carefully. You're really cute. No wonder my sister values you so much." She leaned over and gently leaned on the man's chest, listening to his heartbeat. His hot body emitted a red mist, which filled the whole curtain. The red mist entered the knowing destiny state cultivator's body, but it disappeared in an instant. The inexplicable scene was shocking. Meiji's eyes became more and more strange. She released all her power, and the red mist rushed into the man's body like a tide. The next moment, the same scene happened again. The red mist was like a stone sinking into the sea or mud flowing into the river. The knowing destiny state cultivator's body turned into a bottomless black abyss, constantly swallowing all the power that entered his body. Strange. Meiji stood up and walked to the table beside her. She took a jade bowl and filled it with water. Then she walked back to the curtain and pricked the finger of the young man on the bed with a needle, dripping a drop of blood. When the blood fell into the water, it was no different from that of ordinary people. Meiji pricked her own hand, dripped a drop of blood, and observed carefully. But at this moment, the red water quickly swallowed the drop of blood. Even the vitality and genuine qi did not overflow. Meiji was more confused. How could there be such a constitution in the world? Who was this person? "Lady Meiji, the saintess has ordered you to go over." Right at this moment, a maid outside the Zhuyan Palace spoke respectfully. Hearing this, Meiji frowned and said, "I know. You can leave first." "Yes." The maid accepted the order, turned around, and left. Before the curtain, Meiji thought for a moment, and then she waved her hand to set up a restriction. After that, she strode out of the hall. In the In-gue sacred palace, a woman in a light pink dress stood quietly. Her black hair was like a waterfall, and her face was beautiful and enchanting. She was the strongest person in the In-gue sect other than the sect master. The combination of charm and authority made people not dare to look at her directly. "Greetings, Saintess." Meiji walked over and bowed. "We need people to investigate Huanji's death." "You'll be in charge of this," said In-gue Saintess. "Yes." Meiji accepted the order. Also, In-gue Saintess narrowed her eyes, and said, "The marriage between my In-gue sect and Heaven Mending Pavilion, who do you think is suitable?" Meiji was shocked. She lowered her head and said, "This subordinate doesn't know." "It doesn't matter." "Just say it," said In-gue Saintess indifferently. Meiji hesitated for a moment, and said, "The people my sect sends to Heaven Mending Pavilion must be virgins. Right now, only 4th sister and 7th sister meet the requirements. 7th sister has an unruly personality and is not suitable for marriage. However, 4th sister is the only person in my sect who is good at alchemy. The gains do not make up for the losses." In-gue Saintess nodded and said, "Let Danji prepare. 1 month later, Heaven Mending Pavilion will come to pick them up." "Yes." Meiji's body shook again. She respectfully accepted the order, and left with a complicated expression. In the pill room, Meiji paced back and forth for a long time. In the end, she softly sighed and walked in. In front of the pill furnace, the green-clothed woman sat quietly. Seeing the figure walking in, her eyes flashed with confusion, and she said, "Why did Big Sister come back?" "I've come to talk to you about something," said Meiji as she walked forward. "Something happened to that person?" Danji frowned and said, "No, that man is fine." Meiji sat down next to the former and said, "It's another matter. Big Sister, why are you hemming and hawing today?" "This isn't like Big Sister," Danji said doubtfully. Meiji was silent. Soon after, she softly sighed and said, "Saintess just called me over. She wanted me to tell you that she has already decided to send you to the marriage alliance between Heaven Mending Pavilion and our In-gue sect." Hearing this, Danji's body trembled. After a moment, she calmed down and said with a smile, "I know. Thank you big sister for coming to tell me. Meiji sighed again and said, little sister, prepare yourself. 1 month later, Heaven Mending Pavilion will come to pick you up. Danji forced a smile and nodded, saying, big sister, little sister will leave in a month. Before that, can you let that person test little sister's medicine? After a month, that person will be big sister's. Meiji nodded. This time, she did not argue. Thank you, big sister. Danji stood up and bowed, softly thanking her. Meiji shook her head and did not say anything else. She stood up and left. Following Meiji's departure, the pill room became quiet. Danji stared blankly at the furnace in front of her. Tears unconsciously flowed from her eyes. Why was it that women's fates could never be controlled by themselves? Within In-gue's sacred hall, In-gue Saintess walked to the back of the hall and knelt down, saying, Master, has the matter of the marriage been arranged? A woman's voice rang out from the darkness. Yes. In-gue Saintess nodded, saying, Danji is the most suitable person. It's just a pity. It's fine. You can find someone skilled in alchemy, but the matter of the marriage with Heaven Mending Pavilion cannot be delayed. This concerns the future of my In-gue sect. You have to pay close attention to this matter. You can't make any mistakes. Disciple understands. Master, there's one more thing you need to know, said In-gue Saintess seriously. Speak, said the woman. Huanji is dead. Her life tablet has been shattered, said In-gue Saintess. Oh. A trace of surprise appeared in the woman's voice. Do you know who did it? I still don't know. In-gue Saintess replied, before Huanji died, she sent back a man. Disciple has personally investigated and found nothing strange. As for Huanji's matter, Disciple has arranged for Meiji to investigate. There should be results soon. Yes. The woman replied, Huanji's strength is not weak. Tell Meiji not to be careless. Right now is a crucial time for the marriage between my sect and Heaven Mending Pavilion. Nothing must go wrong. Yes. In-gue Saintess respectfully replied. You can leave. Disciple will take her leave. In-gue Saintess bowed once more and stood up to leave. Outside In-gue sect, the sky gradually darkened. The bright moon rose, illuminating the earth. In front of the alchemy room, a beautiful woman in green clothes stood quietly. She looked at the bright moon in the sky with a rare calm and peaceful expression. Not far away, Meiji walked over. Looking at her, she softly said, Little sister, are you still not going to rest? I can't sleep. Danji came back to her senses and smiled. Still thinking about the marriage? Asked Meiji. No. Danji shook her head, saying, Little sister is just thinking, what are we fighting for in this life? If we don't fight, what can we do? Meiji's eyes flashed with emotion, saying, if we fight, we can still feel the value of our lives. If we don't fight, we really have nothing. Fourth sister, Heaven Mending Pavilion is not like In-gue sect. Although we don't usually get along, no one really wants to harm each other's lives. However, once you go to Heaven Mending Pavilion, fourth sister really needs to be careful. That kind of colossus has too many secrets. If you're not careful, you will be consigned to eternal damnation. Big sister, don't worry. Little sister will be careful. Danji softly replied. Meiji looked at the alchemy room behind her, saying, that man is too strange. Little sister, you also need to be careful. If there are signs of him waking up, you must control him in advance. Yes. Danji once again replied. Fourth sister. Meiji looked at the woman beside her and lightly sighed, saying, don't think too much. In this world, us women's fates are very difficult to control. The more we struggle, the more we will be hurt. Do you understand what big sister means? Big sister, don't worry. I won't do anything stupid. Danji softly replied. It's good that you can get over it. Meiji nodded. After saying what needed to be said, the atmosphere between the two of them became quiet once more. Meiji also didn't say anything else. After a moment, she quietly left, allowing Danji to calm down by herself. The night gradually passed. Danji stood outside the alchemy room for the entire night, not moving at all. No one knew what she was thinking. Just as the sun was about to rise in the eastern horizon, Danji returned to her senses and turned to walk into the alchemy room. With a ripping sound, a white cloth wrapped around the man in front of the pill furnace. Danji put away the 70% pills on the pill shelf, then carried the man on her back and walked out of the alchemy room. Night approached, but dawn had yet to arrive. In the darkest quarter of an hour, a green streak of light streaked through In-gui sect. It didn't alarm anyone as it rapidly flew outside. Like a moth flying into a flame, the green streak of light was unwilling to lower its head to fate. It flew with all its might towards the free world outside. Idiot! In-gui Saintess walked out of In-gui Sacred Hall. Looking at the fleeing figure, a cold light flashed through her eyes. She raised her right hand and the sky above In-gui sect rapidly froze. In the distance, Danji sensed danger behind her. Looking back, her expression changed. The rapidly spreading ice crystals sealed the world. In the blink of an eye, they were behind her. Danji wanted to dodge, but it was too late. The ice crystals spread, freezing her fluttering dress bit by bit. At this moment, a shocking change occurred. When the ice crystals spread to Danji's knowing destiny body wrapped in white cloth, the ice crystals immediately dissipated and its power was completely devoured. In an instant, Danji took a step in the air and broke free from the shackles. She quickly flew forward. In front of the sacred hall, In-gui Saintess narrowed her eyes slightly. The person on Danji's back was the man from before. Meiji, Qinji, Jianji, go and bring Danji back, In-gui Saintess said. Yes. In the 3 halls, the 3 In-gui Saintesses received the order. They took a step and flew into the distance. Chapter 795. The darkness of dawn shrouded the world as a green light flashed by. Danji, who had escaped from In-gui sect, kept moving east to avoid the pursuit of the other In-gui heavenly concubines. In-gui sect's 9 heavenly concubines each had their own strengths. Although Danji was ranked 4th, she was good at alchemy and not martial arts. Her strength was relatively low among the 9 heavenly concubines. Behind her, Meiji, Qinji, and Jianji, the 3 strongest heavenly concubines of In-gui sect, moved out at the same time. Their speed became faster and faster as they quickly approached the fleeing In-gui traders. In the east, dawn gradually arrived and the darkness was dispelled. Danji's eyes became brighter and brighter as she looked forward. Her figure didn't stop for a moment. 10 miles away, in the desolate primitive land, ancient trees coiled up into the clouds. In the blink of an eye, Danji's figure flashed and quickly disappeared. Big sister. Qinji and Jianji saw this and called out. Yes. Meiji sighed and nodded. She stepped forward and stood in the air. Soon after, red mist filled her body and flames rose as she descended from the sky. In an instant, the entire primitive land was covered in flames. The scarlet flames burned everything. It was a terrifying scene. Qinji and Jianji looked down and didn't dare to be careless. Although 4th sister's cultivation wasn't as good as theirs, she had many tricks up her sleeves. Otherwise, the saintess wouldn't have sent the 3 of them. Below, in the raging sea of fire, green mist rose and spread out along with the waves of fire that soared into the sky. Dodge! Meiji's expression changed slightly as she reminded them. When Qinji and Jianji heard this, they immediately retreated to avoid the green mist that filled the sky. At this moment, a streak of light flashed through the mist and quickly went away. Fourth sister, you can't escape. Qin-ji's eyes narrowed. She waved her left hand and a zither appeared. The zither's strings vibrated and a profound sound surged out like waves. 3,000 meters away, Dan-ji staggered. Affected by the profound sound, her blood and qi violently surged. Jianji's figure flashed and a sword light came at her with a speed as fast as purple lightning. With a slash, the sword light cut through her clothes and brought out a waterfall of blood. Dan-ji flipped her palm and counterattacked. Her body shook violently and she retreated a dozen steps before using the momentum to rush forward again. Chase! Qin-ji put away her zither and continued to chase. Meiji and Jian-ji didn't hesitate as they quickly followed. In the east, the sun rose, and the first rays of the morning sun shone down on the earth. It was so warm. Under the first rays of the morning sun, there was a ruthless pursuit. In front of him, a beautiful figure was continuously fleeing. Her left shoulder was dyed red, and drops of blood dripped down. It was extremely dazzling. 5 kilometers, 100 kilometers. Danji didn't know how long she had fled or how far she had fled, but she didn't dare to stop for even a moment. She stuffed one pill after another into her mouth, forcibly improving her body. Behind him, the 3 In-gui heavenly concubines were chasing after him. 1,000 miles away, in front of the towering Heavens Pass, the path forward was blocked. Danji turned around and hurriedly changed directions, but it was already too late. Fourth sister, I've already warned you not to do anything stupid. Why didn't you listen? Meiji stood in front of her. She looked at the woman in green and sighed softly. You're also a woman. You should know why I'm leaving. If you still care about our sisterhood, please let me live, said Danji gravely. Hearing this, Meiji fell silent. After a moment, she shook her head and said, I'm sorry. If I can't bring you back, not only me, but even fifth sister and seventh sister will be implicated. You know the punishment for failure of the mission in the sect. We can't bear it. Big sister, don't waste words with her. She's already a traitor of In-gui sect. Quickly capture her and report back, said Jian-ji coldly. Ding. On the other side, Qin-ji played her zither, and a profound sound reverberated. With a thump, the profound sound arrived. Danji retreated several steps, blood silently dripping from the corner of her mouth. There was no turning back. Danji took out a purple-black pill from her bosom and stuffed it into her mouth. Her eyes instantly turned black, and 2 drops of black blood silently flowed out. Not good. Meiji's expression changed, and she hastily said, hurry and stop her. Just as she finished speaking, a shocking scene occurred. Around Danji's body, black qi kept roaring and swallowing the heavens and earth. Within 100 miles, all the flowers and trees withered, and all life was extinguished. Jian-ji and Qin-ji retreated several steps from the impact. Their faces were filled with shock. Not daring to delay any longer, Jian-ji's figure flashed, and the long sword in her hand turned into a thunderbolt. The sword's momentum was shocking, and it broke through the void. Danji looked over, and her bloodshot eyes were cold. She raised her hand and directly grabbed the sword's edge. Then, with a thump, her palm imprinted on the former's chest. A pool of blood splashed out, and Jian-ji's body flew back. She staggered several steps and vomited a mouthful of blood, dyeing the ground red. Qin-ji's expression changed. Her right hand pulled the zither's 7 strings, and a torrent of undercurrents surged. The shocking power destroyed the ground, and the dust was like an ocean. As the profound sound approached, Danji did not dodge. She took the heavy blow and stepped forward. Her left hand that was covered in blood grabbed the zither, and her right hand clenched into a palm. Qin-ji raised her hand to block the palm, but she felt an unshakable power. Her body flew back and smashed into the ground. In a short breath's time, the two heavenly concubines were heavily injured, and their bodies were covered in blood. Fourth sister, why do you have to do this? As she sighed helplessly, Meiji had unknowingly arrived behind her. Her palm imprinted on the former's shoulder. Ugh! With a groan, Danji staggered, and black blood flowed out from her mouth. Without saying a word, she dashed out and countered with a palm strike. Meiji grabbed the former's arm, and her other hand clenched onto the former's chest. With a thump, blood splattered everywhere. At such a close distance, Danji's eyes glowed with black brilliance. The black blood in the wound on her chest turned into strange threads, and wrapped around the woman's body. Even if I die, I don't want to die in In-gui sect. Danji raised her hand to seal her veins, and said weakly. At the same time, the palm energy and sword gleam came from behind and pierced into her shoulders. Danji turned around and looked at the two of them. Her black eyes revealed a smile, and she endured the pain. She clenched her fists and sent the two of them flying. Eldest sister, fifth sister, seventh sister, goodbye. As soon as she finished speaking, Danji took a step forward and headed east. Qin-ji and Jianji wanted to chase after her, but their injuries were too heavy. They vomited a mouthful of red blood, and their bodies became unstable. Looking in the direction Danji had left in, Meiji's red mist surged, shaking off the black threads that wrapped around her body. Her eyes flashed with sadness. Fourth sister, I hope you can live happily in the remaining time. Eldest sister, do we still chase? Qin-ji and Jianji stepped forward and asked. There's no time. Let's go back and report. Fourth sister has already eaten the yellow spring pill. She won't survive. Meiji sighed. Okay. Qin-ji and Jianji nodded. 300 miles away, a large river flowed east. Suddenly, a woman covered in blood fell from the sky. Her blood spread and dyed the surrounding water black. Chapter 796. The sun rose and set. It was a cold night. Danji, who had been unconscious for the whole night, moved her fingers and slowly opened her eyes. His eyes, which were as black as ink, returned to normal. However, they had already lost their former brilliance and had become abnormally dim. Danji struggled to prop herself up and looked at the plainclothed figure who had fallen to the side. She hesitated for a moment before carrying him on her back and walking towards the dense forest ahead. The quiet and cold forest became frightening at night. The roars of beasts rang out in the depths of the forest, startling countless birds. Danji walked with difficulty. The after-effects of the underworld pill gradually appeared. Her body and vitality quickly scattered, and even her five senses became blurry. Perhaps it was out of sympathy, or perhaps it was for other reasons, but Danji never left the man on her back. She knew that this person was useless to her because she would never have another chance to refine pills in this life. After walking for more than an hour in the forest, Danji no longer had the strength to move forward. She stopped in front of a large tree and put down the man on her back. I didn't expect that you would be the one to accompany me on the final journey. Danji looked at the young man in front of her who had yet to wake up. Her beautiful face revealed a sigh. The cold night gradually turned cold. Danji lit a bonfire under the tree and silently stared blankly. She knew that there was almost no chance for her to escape safely, but she didn't regret it. She knew very well what kind of existence Butian Pavilion was. If she went in, she would be no different from a commodity. The quiet woman in front of the bonfire had unusually clean eyes. No one could tell that she was the In-gui sect's heavenly maiden who was famous for seducing men. Only 2 of the 9 heavenly maidens were still virgins. The other 7 heavenly maidens cultivated the In-gui sect's secret method of gathering yang to replenish yin. Who knew how many men had died under their skirts? Danji didn't cultivate this method not because she was kind, but because she didn't like it. On the contrary, In-gui Danji was the one who killed the most people among the 9 heavenly maidens. Because every time she tested pills, countless people would die. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, no one thought there was a problem. Danji looked at the unconscious man beside her, a complicated look flashing through her eyes. She didn't know who this person was, nor did she know where he came from. It was ironic that such a complete stranger would accompany her in her final moments. After a long period of silence, Danji raised her hand and touched the former's meridians. The remaining true chi flowed through his body, carefully examining his physical condition. She had killed too many people in her life. She hoped that she could save this person before she died. After an unknown period of time, Danji carefully examined every inch of the former's meridians and frowned deeply. There were no injuries on his body, and his condition was no different from that of an ordinary person. Why couldn't he wake up? True chi filled Danji's Dantian Chi Si. Danji continuously urged her body to continue her exploration. Half an hour later, Danji let go of her hand in exhaustion. She still didn't find anything. You're really unlucky. I can't save you. Danji sighed. The bonfire flickered continuously. In the pitch-black forest, the stars in the sky could not be seen. Only bits of moonlight shone through the gaps between the leaves. It was so cold. Cough, cough. Suddenly, the underworld pill's backlash erupted. Danji coughed violently, and ink-black blood seeped out from between her fingers, dripping to the ground drop by drop. Danji took out a medicinal pill and stuffed it into her mouth. Then, she closed her eyes and focused on suppressing the surging blood energy in her body. After a long time, Danji opened her eyes and looked at the pills in front of her. Her gaze once more shifted to the plain-clothed youth. Without any hesitation, Danji took out bottle after bottle of pills and stuffed them into his mouth one by one. Since his constitution could devour all energy, she would give him all of these pills that could heal injuries or replenish true chi. In any case, there was no other way. Not long after, there was a pile of jade bottles on the ground. The elixirs in them were all eaten by Undying Monk. Danji looked at Undying Monk's bulging mouth. She didn't know why, but she suddenly smiled. If he woke up and found out that she had fed him so many random pills, she wondered what kind of expression he would have. She turned her palm and condensed her true chi. Droplets of dew condensed into water that flowed into his mouth. Danji carefully used her true chi to dissolve the pill's power. Then, she waited expectantly for the results. About an hour later, the medicinal energy was completely absorbed. Danji checked the former's meridians again and couldn't help but sigh. She really had no other way. This person's body was simply a bottomless pit. So many medicinal pills had disappeared without even the slightest reaction. After tossing and turning for several hours, an irresistible sense of exhaustion hit Danji. She closed her eyes weakly and leaned against a tree to sleep. Crackling sounds came from the burning bonfire. As the night deepened, the fire became smaller and smaller. Beside the bonfire, the plain-clothed figure slept quietly. There was still no change. For more than 10 years, there was no sign of waking up. The night gradually passed. The eastern horizon turned white. The cold night passed and the sun rose, illuminating the dense forest. Danji woke up. When she found herself leaning on the shoulder of the man beside her, she couldn't help but blush and move away. She got up and extinguished the bonfire. Danji carefully tied the man with the white silk again and carried him on her back. Then, she continued to walk forward. In Gui sect had her life tablet, so it wasn't too difficult to find her. She had to continue on her way. The further she went, the better. 1,000 miles away, Danji walked in front of a large city. She didn't stop and directly walked into the city. In the mortal world's imperial court, a bustling city. The streets were bustling with activity. Danji walked in front of the largest pharmacy in the city. She looked at the old man behind the counter and said, "Shopkeeper, take out your best medicinal herbs." The old man was startled. This was the first time he had seen someone buy herbs like this. Don't just stand there. Go get them, urged Danji impatiently. Oh, okay. The old man came back to his senses and hurriedly nodded. He walked to the back hall. Not long after, the old man returned with several jade boxes. After opening them, he kindly reminded her, "Miss, these herbs are all very valuable." Danji looked at the herbs and didn't say much. She asked, "How much?" "A total of 7,000 taels," replied the old man. Danji nodded and handed over several banknotes. Then, she put away the herbs and turned to leave. The old man looked at the banknotes in his hand in amazement. Someone who bought herbs like this was really strange. In the next few hours, Danji visited all the pharmacies in the city. She spent half her life savings, buying 1,000-year-old blood ginseng, 1,000-year-old ganoderma, and other random things. In the guest room of an inn in the city, Danji put down the man on her back. She waved her hand and threw the mountains of heavenly treasures to the side. Then, she began to feed them to the young man in front of her. She might as well give medicine to a dead horse. The money and immortal jades she had saved up over the years were useless anyway. She might as well exchange them for various heavenly treasures and feed them to him. It just so happened that his body could devour all medicinal power. She didn't have to worry about him dying. Chapter 797. In-Gue Sacred Hall. Meiji, Jianji, and Qingji knelt in the hall with their heads lowered. Their bodies were tense, and they didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Failed? In-Gue Saintess looked at the three and asked indifferently. Saintess, please forgive us. Fourth sister took the Yellow Springs pill, and her cultivation greatly increased. The three of us couldn't stop her, so we had no choice but to come back and report to Saintess, Meiji said truthfully. Yellow Springs pill. In-Gue Saintess's eyes narrowed, and she slowly said, very good. Meiji, you three bring old 6, old 8, and old 9. Take Danji's life medallion and bring her back before she dies. Didn't she rather die than come back? I'm not going to go against her wishes. Yes. The three heavenly concubines bowed and walked out of the hall. Wait. Suddenly, In-Gue Saintess said coldly, bring back the man that Danji took away. Yes. The three of them respectfully replied and walked out of the hall. Not long after the three of them left, the void in the hall began to churn, and from the ripples, an illusory figure appeared. His young face carried an unruly coldness as he said, In-Gue Zhen, where is the heavenly maiden that your In-Gue sect promised to send to my heaven-mending pavilion? Shouldn't you let me see her? In-Gue Saintess smiled and said, I'm truly sorry. That heavenly maiden betrayed In-Gue sect not long ago. I've already sent people to kill her. Brother Qi, don't worry. I'll quickly arrange for a new heavenly maiden. I definitely won't disappoint Brother Qi. Escaped? In the void, the young illusory figure revealed a cold expression and said, is marrying into my heaven-mending pavilion an insult to her? I'd like to see what's so special about this heavenly maiden. Where is she now? Meiji, Jianji, and the others have already gone to take her life medallion. We'll know her whereabouts soon. Brother Qi, you only need to wait a few days. Meiji and the others will quickly bring her back, In-Gue Saintess said calmly. No need. Tell them to bring her life medallion to me. I'll personally go, Qi Feiyin said coldly. When In-Gue Saintess heard this, a serious look flashed across the depths of her eyes, but she didn't show it. Instead, she smiled and said, we're really grateful that Brother Qi is willing to lower himself to do it personally. I'll be waiting for Brother Qi's arrival at In-Gue sect. Before this sovereign arrives, arrange for a new holy daughter. When this sovereign leaves, I will take her with me. As soon as he finished speaking, Qi Feiyin's figure gradually faded away. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared. In-Gue Saintess bowed and answered softly. After Qi Feiyin left, Yin Gue Saintess raised her head. A cold glint flashed in her eyes as she said, "Men, call Meiji over." "Yes." Outside the hall, the maid accepted the order and quickly left. Boom! Right at this moment, a green brilliance descended from the sky outside Yin Gue sect. With a loud bang, it shattered the sect-protecting grand formation. Amidst the brilliance, two silhouettes walked out and charged towards Yin Gue sect. In the sacred palace, Yin Gue Saintess's eyes narrowed. She walked out of the sacred palace and looked outside the sect. Coldness flashed across her face. Who had the guts to cause trouble in Yin Gue sect? In front of the sect, all kinds of lights flashed as the ghastly puppet cult's 7 heavenly concubines came out. Looking at the two people in front of them, they were on guard. "It seems we didn't find the wrong place." Seeing the 7 people, killing intent flashed in Qing Ning's eyes. The auras of these 7 people were almost exactly the same as that woman's. Yin Gue sect was truly a loathsome sect. "Hand over my master, you bad women." Yin put her hands on her hips and angrily glared at the 7 of them. "Oh, which family's little girl is this? She's really pretty. Why don't you join our Yin Gue sect? I guarantee you'll be able to enjoy endless happiness every day." Meiji covered her mouth and laughed. "Bah, I came here to destroy your filthy sect so you won't have a place to harm others." Yin angrily said. Truly a little girl who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. As they spoke, a light pink figure walked over from the distance. Her black hair fluttered in the wind and a powerful aura circulated, causing the surrounding heaven and earth to shake. Saintess. The 7 heavenly concubines all bowed respectfully. Peak corporeal realm. Seeing the woman walk over, Qing Ning's expression froze. The true leader had finally appeared. "Capture them." Yin Gue Saintess said indifferently. "Yes." The 7 heavenly concubines accepted the order and rushed out, surrounding the 2 of them. "Yin, retreat behind me," Qing Ning softly said. "Oh." Yin obediently ran behind Qing Ning. Qing Ning's right hand clenched, and a divine spear filled with lotus aura appeared. A powerful Buddhist aura circulated around it as if it had a life of its own. No one dared to underestimate it. The 7 Yin Gue Saintesses all moved, and their true chi surged as they attacked the 2 of them. 3 realms of crossing the world, Bodhisakya, 10,000 devil repentance. The divine spear swept out, and Qing Ning's Buddhist aura flourished. Clear Saint Force sword, and her corporeal realm cultivation combined with Buddhist's devil-slaying art surged out. The 7 heavenly concubines felt an irresistible Saint Force attack them, and their bodies were immediately suppressed and sent flying. Ugh! With a muffled groan, the 7 of them staggered and fell to the ground, vomiting blood. Buddhist people. Yin Gue Saintess narrowed her eyes, and her figure flickered as she personally attacked. Qing Ning turned her palm to block the attack, and lotus aura coiled around her body. With a bang, she forcefully resisted the attack. My Yin Gue sect has never had anything to do with Buddhism. Are your actions today a declaration of war? Yin Gue Saintess coldly asked the person in front of her. I'm here to bring back the white-haired youth you captured. It has nothing to do with anyone else, Qing Ning replied coldly as she waved her spear to shake off the battle. So you're the one who killed Huan Ji. Just in time to save me the trouble of sending people to find you. Yin Gue Saintess said, and her slender hand turned into a deadly claw that grabbed the woman in front of her. The divine spear swept out, and Qing Ning did not retreat even half a step. Qing Ning held her spear and fought against a peak corporeal realm expert. After exchanging a few moves, the heavens fell and the earth fell. 100 years later, the younger generation was no longer inferior to the older generation, and their cultivations were shocking. The peak corporeal realm expert was one step away from the true realm, and she could see the truth of heaven and earth. Yin Gue Saintess's moves were boundless, shaking the heavens and the earth. On the other hand, Qing Ning had a divine spear forged from pure sky lotus breath in her hand. Her body was like a dragon that could break through cities. Lotus flower sacred art, merciful ark of salvation. They were in a stalemate. Qing Ning raised her body to its fullest and performed the supreme technique of Buddhism. Suddenly, lotus flowers shone in all directions and the light of Buddha shone on the world. Above the void, green lotuses grew on their own. As the flowers bloomed and fell, the holy power of Buddhism dispelled all evil, slaying evil and saving the world. Seeing this, Yin Gue Saintess's eyes narrowed. She used her Yin Gue secret technique, and a dim light shone brightly to block the Buddhist power. In an extreme collision, Buddhist holy power and Yin Qi devoured each other. With a loud tremor, the battle was split apart, and it was still difficult to determine who had the upper hand. Yin Gue Saintess suppressed her killing intent and said, "Miss, your strength is not ordinary. May I ask which sect you come from?" "West Jade Mountain," Qing Ning said calmly. Yin Gue Saintess frowned slightly. West Jade Mountain was a sect she had never heard of. Logically speaking, such an expert shouldn't be unknown. "The person you are looking for is not in my Yin Gue sect. Not long ago, he was taken away by a traitor. Please return," Yin Gue Saintess said indifferently. "You're lying." Yin shouted from behind. "Do I need to lie to you?" Yin Gue Saintess sneered and said, "Believe it or not, but I'm warning you. Yin Gue sect is not a place you can barge into. If you cause trouble again, don't blame me for being ruthless." Yin was about to speak, but was stopped by Qing Ning. She glanced at Yin Gue sect in front of her, and a trace of seriousness flashed through her eyes. "Yin, let's go," Qing Ning said softly and turned to leave. Yin was startled. She didn't understand, but she recovered and hurriedly followed. Seeing the two leave, Yin Gue Saintess's gaze shifted to the 7 heavenly concubines and said, "Go get Dan Ji's life tablet. Heaven-mending pavilion's people will arrive soon." When Mei Ji and the others heard this, they were all shocked. So fast. Outside Yin Gue sect, Qing Ning walked forward with Yin following behind. After walking for a while, Yin finally couldn't help but ask, "Big sister Qing Ning, why are we leaving?" Qing Ning stopped and looked at Yin Gue sect that was gradually fading away. She said softly, "That Yin Gue Saintess shouldn't be lying to us. Just now, I didn't feel your master's aura. Moreover, this Yin Gue sect is not simple. There is a very terrifying aura inside. If we force our way in, we will very likely suffer greatly." Yin softly replied, and a worried expression appeared on her face. "Then where are we going to find master?" "Wait here," Qing Ning calmly said. "The target of those two from Yin Gue sect was clearly you, and your master was just taken away in passing. Logically speaking, with Yin Gue Saintess's status, she shouldn't have noticed your master. When I asked her just now, she immediately knew who I was talking about. Clearly, she also noticed that there was a problem with your master's constitution." "Big sister, you mean Yin Gue Saintess will send people to find master?" Yin eyes brightened. "Yes." Qing Ning nodded and said, "Yin Gue sect claims to have 9 holy maidens. 7 of them were dispatched just now, and 1 of them died earlier. If I'm not wrong, the traitor Yin Gue Saintess spoke of is that holy maiden who didn't appear, and it's very likely that she took your master away. Big sister, you're really smart. Why didn't I think of that?" Yin enviously said. "Alright, this little scheme of mine can't even compare to your master's. Let's find a place to hide first. When Yin Gue sect's people come out, we'll follow," said Qing Ning softly. At the same time, in an inn in Zhanghua ancient city, Danji fed all the medicinal pills and heavenly treasures she had bought into knowing destiny's mouth. Jade bottles and wooden boxes were piled up everywhere, making one speechless. Cough cough. The backlash from the underworld pill was becoming more and more serious. Black blood continuously flowed out of Danji's mouth, gradually eating away at the little remaining true essence and vitality in her body. If you still don't wake up, I really have no other choice. I've already done my best. Danji suppressed the injuries in her body and looked at the man in front of her with tired eyes. She had never heard of such a situation. Without any cultivation, his body could devour all energy. It was truly unheard of. Cough cough. After a few more violent coughs, Danji felt the true essence in her body continuously dissipating. She sighed softly and leaned over. Since it would dissipate sooner or later, she might as well give it to this person as repayment for accompanying her on her final journey. Chapter 798. In the ancient city, under the morning sun, the door of a guest room opened and a beautiful figure walked out. She had a plain face and no makeup, but she looked even more attractive. Danji looked at the guests coming and going on the first floor. After a while, she turned around and walked into the room. It was time to go, otherwise the Yin-Gui sect people would catch up. In the room, Danji tied the man on the bed to her back with white silk and walked out. Not long after the two left, several figures appeared out of thin air from the inn's room. Meiji walked forward and picked up a jade bottle. She looked at it and said, "This belongs to Danji. She shouldn't have gone far." "Chase," Qi Feiyin said coldly. As soon as he said that, the void swirled and the figures disappeared. Outside the city, Danji walked quickly to the east. Although she had lost her cultivation, her body that had been cultivated for 100 years was still very fast. She quickly walked away. Behind her, streams of light flashed and disappeared, making it difficult to recognize. Danji sensed something and turned around to look. Her expression shook and she sped up a bit. 100 miles outside the city, in a dense forest, Danji stopped and put down the man on her back. She carefully hid him and looked at him with reluctance, then continued to run forward. Outside the forest, less than 50 miles away, the void swirled and several figures appeared and chased after her. "Fourth sister, you have nowhere to go," Qin-ji said coldly. On the other side, Meiji, Jianji, Han-ji, and other Yin-Gui heavenly concubines walked out and blocked her way. Yin-Gui Danji. Qi Feiyin walked forward and looked at the woman in front of him. He said coldly, "I thought you were a chaste woman, but it turns out you're just a wanton slut." There was no fear on Danji's face as she looked at the people surrounding her. The corners of her mouth curled into a smile of relief. She raised her right hand and slapped towards her own head. "Stop her." Qi Feiyin's expression changed and he said coldly. Jianji heard him and moved. She unsheathed her cold sword and rushed towards the woman in front. At this moment, the world changed. Boundless sword pressure filled the air and the void froze. 10,000 swords bowed down. Everyone looked back, only to see that in the dense forest in the distance, sword light filled the sky and rushed into the forest. It was like a torrential downpour, moving horizontally and vertically, magnificent and shocking everyone. "This is Sword Qi." Qi Feiyin, Meiji, and the others were shocked, their faces filled with disbelief. In the next moment, the sword light that filled the sky shot over at an extremely fast speed. The shocking power split the heavens and the earth, and the space collapsed completely. Qi Feiyin's face sank. He took a step forward and rose into the air. His body's power was pushed to the limit. Suddenly, a violent wind swept out, turning into a black storm, blocking the sword flow. The sword light and the storm collided endlessly. As the sword light dissipated, the black storm rapidly weakened. Suddenly, a sword light broke through the storm and pierced through his body, bringing with it a large amount of blood. Next, thousands of sword lights pierced through Qi Feiyin's body. The sword lights pierced through, and blood fell like rain, shocking everyone present. Impossible. This unbelievable scene became the last thing Qi Feiyin saw in the human world. An instant later, his figure fell from the sky and crashed onto the ground. Young Master Qi, Mei Ji, Qin Ji, and Hun Ji stepped forward and looked at the dead body on the ground. They couldn't help but tremble. In just one move, a peak corporeal realm expert had died just like that. Just who was the attacker? Senior, we didn't mean to offend you. Please let us go this time. Mei Ji bowed in the direction of the forest and said fearfully. Scram! After a long time, a cold voice rang out from the distance. Yes. Mei Ji hurriedly responded and gave the three girls a look. Then, she picked up Qi Feiyin and hastily left. After the four left, Dan Ji stood there in a daze. Her expression was one of confusion. She didn't know what had happened. Not long after, two girls walked out. The one in the lead wore a blue dress. Her face was gentle and beautiful, and she gave off a peaceful feeling like a spring breeze. Dan Ji came back to her senses and looked at the two of them. She hastily bowed and said, "Thank you for saving me, senior." "We're not seniors." Yin curled her lips when she heard this. Qing Ning walked forward and looked in the direction of the forest. "The ones who saved you weren't us." Dan Ji was startled. "Then who was the one who spoke just now?" "I was the one who spoke, but I wasn't the one who attacked." Qing Ning explained, then turned and walked towards the forest behind her. "Come with us." "I don't really understand right now." Dan Ji followed in confusion. She still didn't understand what was going on. In the forest, the area covered by trees was now empty. On the ground, a white-haired figure in plain clothes was quietly lying there with his eyes closed. He didn't look any different from before. When the three of them walked over, Yin saw the figure on the ground and immediately ran over with tears in her eyes. "Master! Master!" Danji said with a shocked look on her face. Qing Ning nodded. "He's Yin's master. A few days ago, he was taken away by a heavenly concubine from your Yin Gui sect. We only found some clues after investigating for a long time. Only then did Danji understand." She sighed. "So you were the ones who killed Huan Ji?" "Yes." Qing Ning softly replied. "I heard Yin Gui Saintis say that you betrayed Yin Gui sect and brought him out. We followed those people and found this place." "Then who saved me?" Dan Ji didn't understand. "Him," Qing Ning said. Dan Ji's expression shook. She said in disbelief, "That's impossible. He was unconscious the entire time. How could he have attacked? I also don't know why, but the sword move just now is indeed something only he can use." Qing Ning said seriously. "Sister Qing Ning, come quickly. There's a bug in Master's stomach." Yin shouted in panic. Qing Ning heard this and quickly stepped forward. She reached out and checked Ning Chen's meridians. "What did you feed my master?" Yin pointed at the woman in front of her and said angrily. "It wasn't me. I didn't feed your master any bugs." Dan Ji quickly shook her head. "She didn't do it." Qing Ning retracted her hand and put down the former's arm. "This is a gu. It should be Ruoshi. Sister Ruoshi." Yin blinked and said in surprise. "Your master mentioned this to me before. However, we didn't care at that time because Ruoshi would never harm your master. Since Ruoshi didn't mention it, your master didn't ask." Qing Ning explained. "When I checked him yesterday, there wasn't any goo in his body." Dan Ji was puzzled. "Then I'll have to ask you. What have you done to him these past few days?" Qing Ning said seriously. In the past 10 years, this was the first time Ning Chen showed any other reaction. This was a good thing. Maybe this was the hope for him to wake up. Dan Ji hesitated for a moment. Then, she roughly explained what had happened in the past 2 days, including the herbs she bought for him to eat. "Ah." you gave my master so much food to eat." Er's heart jumped when she heard that. "I saw that he could absorb any kind of medicinal power, so I bought some heavenly treasures for him to eat," Danji said awkwardly. Qing Ning heard this and frowned. "Is there anything else? Is that all? It shouldn't be the problem with these herbs." These days, she had found a lot of spirit herbs for him, but today's situation had never happened. Hearing the former's question, Danji's face turned red. She stammered and didn't say anything for a long time. Qing Ning saw this and grabbed the former's arm. She probed with her true qi and frowned again. "Where's your true qi?" Qing Ning asked. The 9 heavenly concubines of Yin Gui sect were at least experts above the virtual realm. This Danji was no exception. "I gave it to him," Danji explained with a red face. "I took the Yellow Springs pill. My cultivation will quickly disperse. I brought him out. I want to save him." Qing Ning looked at the woman in front of her and said, "Can you tell me why you betrayed Yin Gui sect?" Danji's eyes darkened. "Yin Gui sect wanted me to marry Butian Pavilion. I didn't want to, so I ran away." Qing Ning didn't ask any more questions. She understood what happened. "Sister Qing Ning, what are you talking about? What happened to Master?" Er asked with a confused face. "Your master is fine. We'll leave first in case more experts from Yin Gui sect come back," Qing Ning said. "Oh." Er answered obediently. She helped her master up and prepared to leave. Qing Ning glanced at the woman beside her and said, "You're coming with us." Danji was shocked. Then, joy appeared on her face and she nodded vigorously. When night fell, 3 people came to the small courtyard in front of the Jade Moon Pool. Er put her master in a wheelchair and pushed him into the room. Danji followed them into the room cautiously. She didn't dare to speak casually. "Come here. I'll take a look at your injuries," Qing Ning said. Danji stepped forward and said sadly, "I took the Yellow Springs pill. My body won't recover. However, I'm satisfied to be able to break free from Yin Gui sect's control." Qing Ning stretched out her hand to check Danji's pulse. Her eyes narrowed. It was indeed not good. This Yellow Springs pill was really overbearing. "Rest for a while. I'll prepare medicine for you." After a while, Qing Ning withdrew her hand and said, "Okay." Danji nodded and said. Qing Ning left the room and went outside to prepare the medicine. Er saw this and immediately followed. "Sister Qing Ning, what's going on? I still don't understand." Er followed and asked. "What do you want to know? Why did the goo in your master's body appear out of thin air? Or how did your master save her?" Qing Ning asked softly. "Both," Er said expectantly. "Why did the goo in your master's body appear out of thin air? It's because that lady gave her virginity and all her martial arts to your master. If I'm not wrong, the goo in your master's body is the goo of love. Previously, it was severely injured like your master during the heaven's tribulation. It hid in his body and only woke up after absorbing so many treasures and that lady's primordial yin." Qing Ning sighed softly and said, "As for why your master could save her, it might be because of this goo. That lady was in danger and your master sensed it. That's why he acted unconsciously and saved her." Pervert. Er heard this and was furious. Previously, when she was bullied by those bad people, he didn't help her. Chapter 799. The moonlight was cold. Danji stood silently in front of the Jade Moon Pool, looking at the cold moon in the sky with a calm expression, her eyes as clear as autumn water. The 9 heavenly concubines of Yin Gui were all peerless beauties, and Danji was not an exception. Now that she had put aside her conflicts and schemes, her presence was more peaceful. With a creak, the door opened, and Qing Ning walked out. Looking at the woman in front of her, she walked forward. You just lost your cultivation, and the poison in your body is harder to suppress. You need to rest more, Qing Ning reminded softly. Danji refocused, smiled slightly, and said, no matter, I know my body best. There is no cure for the poison of the yellow spring pill. Let me live the rest of my days as I please. Qing Ning sighed inside and said, I have not asked for your name. Danji should not be your real name. Danji smiled and said, Murong. Compound surname? Qing Ning said in surprise. No. Danji shook her head and said, my name is Murong. Qing Ning nodded slightly and said, Murong, you mentioned Heaven Mending Pavilion before, can you elaborate? Hearing this, Danji's body slightly trembled. She gradually relaxed and said, I don't know much about the Heaven Mending Pavilion. I only know that it is an extremely ancient sect with countless experts. For hundreds and thousands of years, very few disciples have appeared. However, as long as a descendant of the Heaven Mending Pavilion walks the world, they must be extremely talented and talented. Their strength is extremely terrifying. What is the relationship between Yin Gui sect and Heaven Mending Pavilion? Why did they send you for marriage? Qing Ning continued to ask. Yin Gui sect is a sect that depends on Heaven Mending Pavilion to exist. They have always maintained their relationship through marriage. As to the reason, a hint of self-mockery flashed across Murong's face. She said, maybe Yin Gui Danji is one of the few celestial females in the sect who still has a virgin body. Yin Gui sect's method is special. They can take yang to nourish yin, and can also become a cauldron for others. Even Heaven Mending Pavilion would not complain about getting something for free, right? Qing Ning sighed softly. This was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. Women were like duckweed in the rain, not knowing where they would be in the next moment. There were too few women like Beimeng Fan Lingyue and the Changling female supreme who could control their own fates. What is the identity of that young master? Can Miss Qing tell us? Murong Qing's gaze shifted to the girl beside her as she asked with anticipation. He's called Ning Chen. Qing Ning softly said, you should have heard of him. He's Mo Gate's ninth son, Ning Chen. When Murong heard this, her delicate body trembled. Mo Gate's ninth son. The legend whose name shook the starry sky, or rather, the taboo. After a long while, Murong returned to her senses. She looked at the woman before her and asked, who injured him to this extent? According to legend, the strength of Mo sect's ninth disciple was something that even the exalted experts of the various stellar regions were extremely fearful of. Could anyone in the world possibly injure him to such an extent? Heavens! Qing Ning looked up at the starry sky and said calmly, he saved a dead person. The heavens didn't allow it, so both sides suffered. Murong Qing's heart was in turmoil when she heard this. How was it possible to bring the dead back to life? Qing Ning looked up at the sky and sighed softly. You're not the only one who thinks it's impossible. Even he himself doesn't believe it. However, there are too many things in this world that we don't understand. In the end, there are far more things that we don't know than we do. Whether you believe it or not, he still did it. For this, he paid a sufficient price. Is she his wife? Asked Murong Qing. No. Qing Ning shook her head. Does young Master Ning like her? Asked Murong Qing doubtfully. Qing Ning shook her head again. I don't know. Does she like young Master Ning? Asked Murong Qing doubtfully. Perhaps. Qing Ning sighed. Murong Qing frowned slightly. Then where is she now? She left after waking up. I don't know where she went. Perhaps when Ning Chen wakes up, she'll return. Perhaps she'll never return, replied Qing Ning. Murong Qing fell silent. After a while, she asked, what's her name? Ghost Maiden. Qing Ning retracted her gaze and replied, Rakshasa's Lady of the Underworld. A woman who returned to hell for him. Murong Qing turned around to look at the wooden house behind her. Her beautiful eyes flashed. This young Master Ning was truly a strange person. That ghost maiden actually liked him. Go back and rest. We still have to hurry on with our journey tomorrow morning. Murong Qing nodded. She glanced at the continuously flowing waterfall in front of her and turned to walk back into the house. Qing Ning paused for a moment before also turning to return to the house. If what Murong Qing said was true and Yin Gui sect had her life tablet, then it was very likely that true experts would appear soon. At that time, it would really be troublesome. At the very least, before Ning Chen woke up, they still couldn't directly confront these monsters who had lived for countless years. In the wooden house, Qing Ning walked to the bed and covered Yin with a blanket. A gentle expression flashed across her face. This child had suffered a lot over the years. It was just that she was a bit too playful. She didn't know when the heavenly speech origin in her body would awaken. Ning Chen had said that although this girl's talent was good, she wasn't suitable to learn the sword. Becoming a heavenly speaker was her best choice. Sensing someone beside her, Yin turned over in a daze and reached out to hug the arm of the person in front of her before continuing to sleep. Qing Ning helplessly sat by the bed and gently patted the girl in front of her to let her sleep more soundly. Not long after, Qing Ning carefully pulled her arm away and walked to the bed not far away. Looking at the white-haired figure sleeping on the bed, a trace of sadness appeared on her face. Ning Chen, wake up quickly. It's already been 10 years. Haven't you rested well? Qing Ning sat by the side and raised her hand to gently caress the former's face. Tears silently flowed down from her eyes drop by drop. In the room next door, Murong Qing looked ahead in silence. This girl wasn't his wife, nor was she related to him by blood. However, she still didn't leave him and stayed by his side for 10 years. This kind of love could no longer be described with words. Perhaps, he was the only one left in her life. Murong Qing retracted her gaze and walked to her bed to lie down. In the past, she thought that there was nothing in this world other than love and affection. Today, she realized that she was ridiculously wrong. So, there was such love in this world. It surpassed everything. She only had him. Outside the room, the cold night gradually passed. When the sun rose, Qing Ning, who had been sitting for the whole night, got up and made preparations before leaving. Yin, wake up. After preparing for a long time, Qing Ning saw that it was already late. She walked to the bed and called out softly. On the bed, Yin got up with a dazed expression and sat in a daze unhappily for a long time. Then, she walked out of the room with her eyes half closed and began to wash up. In the room next door, Murong Qing walked out and saw this scene. A strange expression flashed across her face. Qing Ning smiled apologetically and said, I'm sorry. This girl has been spoiled by her master, so she's a little spoiled. Miss, please don't take offense. Murong Qing smiled and shook her head. The path of cultivation has always been difficult. If she can always maintain the heart of a child, it's a good thing. Outside the room, Yin finished washing up and sat in front of the mirror. After searching for a long time, she turned around and said, Sister Qing Ning, I can't find my hairpin. I've put it away for you. Don't leave things around. If you lose them, your master will scold you when he wakes up. Qing Ning went forward and carefully combed Yin's hair. Then, she took out a golden hairpin and inserted it into her hair. Yin looked at herself in the mirror and smiled happily. Master dotes on me so much. He won't scold me. You know your master dotes on you, but you still lost him. Qing Ning lightly hit her. Yin embarrassedly grabbed the girl's arm and said, I didn't do it on purpose. Sister Qing Ning, don't tell master about this when he wakes up. On the side, Murong Qing looked at the two of them with envy. The two of them had a really good relationship. Go push your master. We have to leave as soon as possible. It won't be safe here soon. Qing Ning patted Er's head. Oh. Er immediately got up and ran to the bed to help the figure on the bed. She placed him in the wheelchair and carefully covered him with a thick blanket. Murong, let's go. Qing Ning looked at the girl beside her. Murong Qing nodded and followed her. At the same time, Gue Sek's sacred palace. Gue Saintis knelt on the ground. In the darkness in front of her, a powerful and heavy aura filled the air. It was so oppressive that it made it hard for her to breathe. A swordsman. The cold voice of a woman rang out. Gue Saintis replied, according to Meiji and the others, they didn't even see his appearance when he attacked. In just one move, Qi Feiyin died. True realm. The girl's voice sank. Does Heaven Mending Pavilion know about this? Heaven Mending Pavilion has already sent people to take away Qi Feiyin's corpse. They should be making a move soon. Gue Saintis respectfully replied. In the darkness, the girl was silent. After a moment, she said, understood. You can leave. You don't need to care about this anymore. I will personally handle it. Gue Saintis' expression shook. Master, you want to come out of seclusion? Qi Feiyin's death is not a small matter. I can no longer sit by and do nothing. Heaven Mending Pavilion will at least send a Grand Elder to deal with this matter. Before that, my Gue sect should express something. Gue Saintis bowed. Without saying anything else, she got up and left. Sword user. In the darkness, the girl's face revealed a cold expression. When did this planet have such a powerful sword user? It seemed that she had been in seclusion for too long. An expert she didn't know about had appeared in this world. Within Gue sect, it wasn't long before the halls started to shake one after another. Amidst the decadent aura that filled the sky, an extremely powerful pressure swiftly recovered, causing all the birds and beasts within 500 kilometers to be terrified, bowing their heads and shivering. Greetings, Sect Master. Greetings, Sect Master. Within the halls, the 7 heavenly concubines all knelt and saluted, welcoming Gue Sect Master out of seclusion. As soon as she finished speaking, the power of extreme soared into the sky from behind the Gue sacred palace. A beautiful figure that could turn all living things upside down walked out. She was as charming as the night, making the fairies not dare to look directly at her. The master of the Gue sacred palace was a supreme master whose name shook the world. Chapter 800. Light streaked across the starry sky as the Milky Way flew towards the distant starry sky. Qing Ning and the others traveled day and night for several days without stopping as they rushed towards another star field. Not long after the 4 of them left, red mist gathered in the starry sky, and a charming woman looked in the direction that the 4 of them had left. She took a step forward and disappeared. At the end of the red phoenix star field, a huge star field appeared in front of them. It was so vast that they couldn't see the end of it. Spirit Void, we're finally here. Qing Ning and the others stopped and stared at the distant star domain. We're finally here. Unfortunately, you can't go over. Before they finished speaking, space-time swirled in the starry sky and a beautiful figure wrapped in red mist walked out. Her aura was oppressive and heavy, making it hard for people to breathe. Sect Master. Seeing the person, Murong trembled and said in shock. Dan Ji. The Inuit sect master looked at the woman and said indifferently, I really didn't expect that you would dare to betray the Inuit sect. Take your master and Murong away. Qing Ning stepped in front of him and said with a serious expression. Sister Qing Ning. Looked anxious and refused to leave. Go. Qing Ning said angrily, you won't be able to help even if you stay here. Do you want something to happen to your master? Er's body shook when she heard this, but she quickly suppressed her emotions and took the other 2 to leave. The Inuit sect master looked at the three leaving and didn't chase after them. He said indifferently, "How much time do you think you can buy for them?" "As long as I can." Qing Ning replied coldly and clenched her hands. In an instant, a lotus bloomed in the void and a green divine spear appeared. When the palm and divine spear collided, lightning shook the heavens and wind howled. The terrifying power shook the heavens and the earth, causing the stars to tremble. The corporeal realm and true realm were two completely different realms with clear boundaries. In just one move, blood flowed out from Qing Ning's right arm and dyed the green spear red. 3 realms of transcendence. True yuan surged and blood turned into lotuses. Blood lotuses bloomed in the void as the Buddhist secret technique was revealed. Suddenly, Buddhist thunder shook the heavens and earth and evil fell everywhere. Life separation, illusion, reality. With a deep roar, the blood lotuses around Qing Ning shattered. Boundless blood essence gathered, and the heavens and the earth turned solemn. Great worlds collapsed one after another, seeming illusory yet real. The Buddhists are not worshipping your Buddha properly. Instead, they came here to meddle in the affairs of my sect. How foolish. In Gue sect master's expression turned cold. He flipped his palm, and in an instant, a huge vortex appeared in the boundless void. It spun crazily, and a terrifying suction force spread out, causing the starry sky to lose its color. In the next moment, the two moves collided. Horrifying waves swept outwards. A beautiful green figure flew out, her clothes dyed red. The corporeal realm will never be equal to the true realm. Now, it's time to end it. In the aftermath, In Gue sect master walked out with surging Yin Qi around him. He raised his hand to grab the woman in front of him. Sister Qing Ning. At this moment, Yin rushed over from afar. Without any hesitation, she pulled out the golden hairpin on her head and swung it across the sky. Then, she carried the heavily injured Qing Ning and swiftly left. Above the starry sky, the heavens shook and the earth trembled. A terrifying force that had never been seen before appeared, splitting the starry sky with a bang. The Milky Way was brilliant, spanning thousands of miles. In Gue sect master couldn't dodge in time and was affected by the power of the golden hairpin. He groaned and flew hundreds of meters away. Western King Hairpin. Looking at the constantly shaking Milky Way, In Gue sect master was shocked. How could the protective immortal artifact of the Queen Mother of the West be in the hands of a little girl? Outside the red phoenix star field, In appeared on a primitive star with Qing Ning. Her expression was full of anxiety. Sister Qing Ning, how are you? I'm fine. Qing Ning suppressed the injuries in her body and said, let's go quickly. Your cultivation is still shallow. That Milky Way won't be able to stop her for long. But your injuries? In looked at the blood flowing out of Qing Ning's right arm and said worriedly. I can still hold on. We have to quickly find your sister Ruoxi. She's the only one who understands the gu she planted in Master. Qing Ning said tiredly. In nodded and glanced at Murong. Sister Murong, let's go quickly. Murong Qing nodded and pushed the man in the wheelchair aside to continue on their way. At the same time, in the red phoenix star field's golden dawn city, the Dawn Moon House's master looked at the half of the undying immortality peach tree in her hand and narrowed her eyes. Knock knock. After 3 knocks, Hong Wan pushed the door open and entered. Looking at the figure in the room, she respectfully said, House Master, this is this month's account. Please take a look. The Dawn Moon House's master took the account book and glanced at it. Why are you the one who brought it? Where's the shopkeeper? A smile appeared on Hung Wan's face. Because we suffered a loss again. The shopkeeper didn't dare to come, so I brought it for him. Separately list out the accounts that Lin Yuzhen owes. When I have time, I'll personally send it to her, the Dawn Moon House's master said. Hung Wan nodded and hesitated for a moment before asking, House Master, why did Princess Qi come here? Isn't she from the Spirit Void sect? If I say that she's only here as a guest, would you believe me? The Dawn Moon House's master chuckled. No. Hong Wan shook her head. Ha. The Dawn Moon House's master stood up and smiled. That's what Lin Yuzhen said back then. Of course, I don't believe her. As for the reason, it's not hard to guess. She came to the Hong Wan Star region because there's someone she values. Coincidentally, I also value this person. Hearing this, Hong Wan was startled. A moment later, she said, House Master, you're saying that she came for Sir Ning. She didn't deny it or admit it. However, I think so. A woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the ocean. This Princess Qi is an incredible figure. She's able to contend against the Ji family, which possesses the bloodline of gods, by herself. In the past thousands of years, no one has been able to do so. The Dawn Moon House's master smiled. If House Master were to face this person, what are your chances of winning? Hong Wan curiously asked. It's hard to say. The Dawn Moon House's master said, Lin Yuzhen's cultivation seems to be at the mid-stage of the true realm. However, once she pulls out the Phoenix Cry sword, no one knows how terrifying this woman is. Of course, as long as she hasn't entered the 4th level, I'm not afraid of her. A strange glint flashed through Hong Wan's eyes. Does the 4th level really exist? Why haven't any 4th level experts appeared in the Hong Wan Star region? They should exist. The Dawn Moon House's master walked towards the window. Looking at the bustling crowd outside, she calmly said, ever since the collapse of the 4 great immortal domains, the number of people able to step into the 4th level has decreased. In the past 10,000 years, there hasn't even been any news of it. However, just because there hasn't been any news of it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The inheritances that have been hidden for a long time all had 4th level experts overseeing them countless years ago. It's not strange for someone to live until now. House Master, you're saying that those old monsters at the 4th level can live for 10,000 years? Hong Wan asked in shock. 10,000 years is too long. The Dawn Moon House's master shook her head. No one can live for 10,000 years. However, it's not impossible to rely on external forces. Since you said that they're old monsters, then they can't be judged by human standards. Hong Wan was silent. After a long time, she softly asked, House Master, how far are you from the 4th level? It's close at hand. The Dawn Moon House's master softly said, it's also far away. However, I seem to have found some clues recently and am preparing to leave to take a look. House Master, you're leaving. Where are you going? Hong Wan was confused. The All-Heaven Star region, Shimi Buddhist Kingdom, the Dawn Moon House's master slowly said. The Spirit Void Star region, the White Emperor Star. It was known as the King Star of a region. Majestic palaces stood tall on it, and the entire world was in court. The White Emperor Star's #1 inheritance, the Divine Blood Ji family. It was a terrifying inheritance whose name shook the starry sky. Everyone knew about it. Not far from the Ji family, there was a royal city in the human world. It didn't look much different from other cities. However, everyone on the White Emperor Star knew that this city was the most terrifying city in the world. Fengming City was the territory that the former White Emperor of the human world had conferred to King Lin Yuzhen. From then on, as long as the royal city didn't fall, the empire wouldn't be destroyed. Thousands of miles away from Fengming City, in the Baiki Empire's imperial palace, the current White Emperor sat on the dragon throne, waiting for someone to arrive. Not long after, outside the main hall, a handsome figure with his hair tied up high walked in. His expression was delicate and calm, and he was indescribably noble. When King Qi appeared, all the guards in the palace knelt down and respectfully saluted. Greetings, King Qi. Lin Yuzhen nodded and walked up the stone steps, heading towards the main hall. Your subject, Lin Yuzhen, greets your majesty. Lin Yuzhen walked into the main hall, bowed, and said calmly, "May I know why your majesty has summoned me here?" White Emperor walked down from the dragon throne, looked at the person in front of him, and said solemnly, "King Qi, the high priest is dead." Lin Yuzhen frowned slightly and said, "The high priest still had more than 10 years to live. Why did he suddenly die?" "The bloodline aura of the Ji family remains on the altar," White Emperor said seriously. "The Ji family?" Lin Yuzhen narrowed her eyes and said, "That's strange. I suspect that someone is deliberately provoking the conflict between Beiki and the Ji family. That's why I immediately summoned you here for a discussion," White Emperor said calmly. Lin Yuzhen thought for a while and said, "Whether it's the Ji family or not, it seems that I have to make a trip there." White Emperor was puzzled and said, "If we go against the Ji family just like that, wouldn't we fall into their trap if someone is deliberately provoking us? There's no need to go through so much trouble. Since the bloodline aura of the Ji family is on the altar, the Ji family must give us an explanation," Lin Yuzhen said calmly. White Emperor hesitated for a moment, but nodded in agreement after a while. "Don't worry, Your Majesty. Leave this matter to me." After speaking, Lin Yuzhen did not stay any longer. She turned and walked out of the hall. On the west side of the imperial palace, Lin Yuzhen walked in front of the huge altar. Looking at the bloodstains on the altar, she laughed coldly. She turned her palm and condensed her essence. With a rumble, she grabbed the entire altar. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yuzhen and the altar disappeared without a trace. In the sky above the Ji family, the void shook. A handsome figure walked out, dragging a huge altar in his hand. Without any hesitation, he raised his hand and threw the altar down. In the next moment, with a loud bang, the altar smashed into the Ji family. Boundless waves of dust rose up to a height of 1,000 feet. Chapter 801. On the White Emperor planet, above the Ji family, Prince Qi came to denounce them. A huge altar smashed down, shaking the earth and mountains. He was dressed elegantly with a jade hairpin holding his hair in place. His handsome face was as calm as water. Although he was denouncing them, no one could see any anger on his face. Prince Qi, Lin Yuzhen, the well-deserved king of Spirit Void, had charged into the Ji family alone, shocking the entire White Emperor city. "It's Prince Qi." The citizens of White Emperor City were shocked and they saw the figure in the sky. The conflict between the Ji family and Prince Qi had long been a secret that everyone knew. A mountain could not contain two tigers, and a king would not meet another king. This was a fact that everyone understood. Who would have thought that Prince Qi would appear here today and directly confront the Ji family? The handsome figure walking down from the sky was not tall, but he was like a sharp sword that could reach the sky. No one dared to be careless. An old man walked out from the Ji family. He looked at the figure descending from the sky and said, "Your Highness Prince Qi, you are a guest of the Ji family. There is no need to be so courteous." Lin Yuzhen sneered and said, "Ji Changfeng, I don't have the time to keep you in suspense. I am here to seek justice for the high priest of my dynasty." Upon hearing this, the old man called Ji Changfeng frowned and asked, "High priest of Beiki, what does Prince Qi mean?" "The day before yesterday, the high priest of my dynasty was assassinated. The blood of your Ji family was left on the altar." "Ji Changfeng, tell me, shouldn't your Ji family give me an explanation?" Lin Yuzhen said indifferently. Ji Changfeng's eyes narrowed and said, "Your Highness Prince Qi, aren't you going too far by concluding that it was the Ji family's doing just based on a few drops of blood?" "Going too far. I don't have the guts." However, the place where the high priest was assassinated had the Ji family's blood. This is an indisputable fact. "Today, I must seek justice," Lin Yuzhen said coldly as he closed the folding fan in his hand. The dignified Prince Qi can't distinguish between right and wrong. Do you really think the Ji family is easy to bully? As he spoke, another old figure walked out from the Ji family. His aura was so majestic that no one dared to approach him. The Ji family's Grand Elder Feng and Grand Elder Chang Kong have both moved out. Looks like this king can't hide anymore. As soon as she finished speaking, the folding fan in Lin Yuzhen's hand disappeared. Amidst the flowing light, a sword with red clouds revolving around it appeared. The sword hadn't been unsheathed yet, but its might had already spread in all directions. Phoenix Cry Sword. Looking at the sword in the former's hand, Ji Changkong and Ji Changfeng's expressions froze. The divine weapon of the Beiki Empire. Is Prince Qi serious about this? Elders, have you decided? Are you going to hand over the High Priest's murderer, or do you want me to personally find him? Asked Lin Yuzhen. This matter wasn't done by my Ji clan. Moreover, the Ji clan isn't a place where you can barge into as you wish. Ji Changkong coldly said. Is that so? Then I'll be offending you. Before she finished speaking, Lin Yuzhen moved. In a flash of light, she flew towards the Ji clan's sacred hall behind them. Ji Changkong and Ji Changfeng's expressions sank. Their silhouettes flashed, blocking the front. Their palms converged and struck towards the former. Lin Yuzhen sneered. She held the sheathed Phoenix Cry sword horizontally, directly blocking their joint attack. However, an earth-shattering tremor was heard. In front of the Ji clan's sacred hall, countless formation runes were awakened. In the terrifying aftermath, thousands of formation runes collapsed. Immediately, new formation runes appeared, blocking the frightening airflow. Ji Changkong and Ji Changkong, the two grand elders of the Ji clan, were pushed back a few feet. The blood in their bodies surged. Even with their joint attack, they were still at a disadvantage. In front of them, Lin Yuzhen stood coldly without saying a word. Her silhouette moved again, arriving in front of the two in an instant. She struck out with a mighty palm. At this critical moment, a greenish-white silhouette flew out from the Ji clan's sacred hall and blocked the two of them. She also struck out a palm to meet Prince Qi's palm. With a loud bang, the ground between the two of them cracked. Even with the protection of the formation, it couldn't dissolve this frightening power. Ji Yuechu, are you finally willing to show yourself? Looking at the Ji clan's sacred master, Lin Yuzhen said calmly. Your Highness Prince Qi, why are you so unreasonable? You should know that this matter wasn't done by the Ji clan, Ji Yuechu said. I don't know whether it was done by the Ji clan or not. I only know that the Ji clan is definitely involved in the death of the High Priest, Lin Yuzhen said calmly. A light flashed across Ji Yuechu's eyes. After a while, he said, Your Highness is not unreasonable. Why don't we enter the sacred hall and discuss how to solve this matter? Sure. Hearing this, Lin Yuzhen nodded. With a wave of her hand, she kept the Phoenix Cry sword in her hand and walked toward the Ji clan's sacred hall. Sacred Master. Ji Changkong went up and said anxiously, the death of the High Priest of Beiki has nothing to do with the Ji clan. Why are you giving in to this person? Who says it has nothing to do with us? Ji Yuechu said calmly, didn't you see the bloodstains of the Ji clan on the altar that Prince Qi threw down? But. Ji Changkong said anxiously. There are no buts. Ji Yuechu raised his hand to stop the former from continuing and said, regardless of whether it was done by the Ji clan or not, with the bloodstains, the Ji clan is definitely involved. Let's enter the sacred hall and entertain our guests. With that, Ji Yuechu did not say anything else and walked toward the sacred hall. What do you mean, Sacred Master? Ji Changkong was puzzled. I'm not sure either. Ji Changfeng shook his head and said, however, since someone dared to frame the Ji clan cannot sit by and do nothing. Let's go in first. That Prince Qi is not an unreasonable person. Otherwise, even if the Sacred Master intervened just now, it would be difficult for us to keep our lives. Hearing this, Ji Changkong glanced at the handsome figure in front of him with a fearful expression. This Prince Qi was truly more frightening than he had imagined. If he hadn't personally experienced it, he really wouldn't have believed that a person who hadn't cultivated for as long as they did would actually possess such terrifying strength. The Ji clan's sacred hall was a majestic building. The decorations in the hall were classical and exquisite, neither flashy nor shabby. Yuqing, serve the guests tea. Ji Yuechu looked at his daughter and said, "Yes." Ji Yuqing responded softly and took the tea from the maid. She then personally served it to Prince Qi and bowed, saying, "Your Highness, please have some tea." Lin Yuzhen took the tea and looked at the unusually beautiful girl in front of him. He smiled and said, "After not seeing you for 100 years, the growth of the Ji clan's daughter has really made me look at you in a new light. Your Highness is too kind. Yuqing does not deserve such praise." Ji Yuqing bowed again and retreated to the side. "Prince Qi, I am deeply sorry about the matter of your high priest. However, this matter was indeed not done by the Ji clan. I hope that your Highness will investigate this matter," Ji Yuechu said seriously. "How do you explain the bloodstains on the altar, Sacred Master?" Lin Yuzhen took a sip of tea and asked. "Someone framed us," Ji Yuechu said with certainty. "Framing the Ji clan? I really can't think of anyone who would have the guts to do so," Lin Yuzhen said calmly. "There are countless experts in the White Emperor Star or even in the entire Spirit Void Star. There are also many forces that are dissatisfied with the Ji clan and the Baiki Empire. It is not strange for someone to deliberately sow discord," Ji Yuechu said seriously. "What do you plan to do, Sacred Master?" Lin Yuzhen asked calmly. "Beat them at their own game and lure them out." Ji Yuechu tapped the table beside him with his finger, and an invisible barrier sealed the space between the two of them. "Why should I believe you, Sacred Master?" Lin Yuzhen put down the teacup in his hand and asked. Ji Yuechu narrowed his eyes and said, "Because of my name, Ji Yuechu." Lin Yuzhen smiled and said, "If that is the case, I will not be courteous." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yuzhen stood up and his terrifying cultivation erupted. Amidst the raging wind, the cry of a phoenix appeared. In an instant, lightning fell from the sky. His sword pierced the ground, and the brilliance pierced through the 9 heavens. At this moment, the entire White Emperor city was shaken. Countless people looked at the Ji clan's holy palace in shock. Did Prince Qi and the Ji clan really start fighting? In the Ji clan's holy palace, Lin Yuzhen's figure flashed in the dazzling brilliance. His sword was like lightning as it swept towards the Ji clan's sacred master. Ji Yuechu focused and used his vital energy to block the Phoenix Cry sword. With a loud rumble, the aftershock roared to the sky. Neither of them retreated half a step. The sword in their hands pressed forward, not showing any mercy. This shocking battle shook everyone's hearts. Ji Yuqing and the 2 grand elders retreated from the holy palace. No one dared to take half a step forward. Not far away, Ruoshi walked over and looked at the holy palace. "Yuqing, what's wrong?" Ji Yuqing shook her head and said, "I'm not sure. Prince Qi and father were having a good discussion. I don't know why they suddenly started fighting." "Prince Qi, Lin Yuzhen." Ruoshi looked at the holy palace with a strange light in her eyes. This Prince Qi was really bold. He dared to fight in the Ji clan alone. Ugh! Suddenly, a muffled groan sounded in the holy palace. Ji Yuechu's figure crashed into a stone pillar, and he vomited vermilion blood. In the next moment, Lin Yuzhen walked out. His vital energy was surging, and his strength was shocking. The Phoenix Cry sword that had returned to its scabbard was still emitting phoenix cries. A terrifying pressure overflowed, and the surrounding space was constantly shattered. "Father!" Seeing the former walking out, Ji Yuqing's expression changed. She hurriedly rushed into the holy palace. When she saw the injured figure under the stone pillar, her pupils shrank. Ji Changfeng and Ji Changkong exchanged a glance. They also saw the shock in each other's eyes. Their holy lord was actually defeated. This was something they never thought would happen. Ji Yuechu, this is just a warning. If you don't hand over the murderer of our high priest in 10 days, don't blame this prince for being ruthless. Outside the holy palace, Lin Yuzhen coldly warned and immediately walked out of the Ji clan. The moment they passed, Ruoshi's body stiffened. She was intimidated by the former's powerful aura and couldn't move. Sensing the familiar aura of the woman beside her, Lin Yuzhen's eyes flashed with surprise. However, she didn't stop and continued to walk forward. Men, stop her! Ji Changkong shouted in front of the holy palace. Let her go. You're not her opponent. Ji Yuechu's weak voice sounded from the holy palace. Ji Changkong's body trembled. He unwillingly waved his hand and dismissed the guards blocking the way. Lin Yuzhen sneered. She didn't say anything and walked away. At the same time, outside White Emperor City, 4 figures walked over. Among the 4, there was a young girl pushing a wheelchair. She looked left and right curiously along the way. Chapter 802. In White Emperor City, Qing Ning's group arrived. Pushed the wheelchair and looked at the bustling streets. Sister Murong, help me push the wheelchair for a while. After saying that, left the person in the wheelchair and ran to the side to buy things happily. Seeing this, Qing Ning slowed down with a headache. This girl, she was so heartless, just like her master when she first entered the palace. Murong stepped forward to push the wheelchair and looked at the woman beside her. Miss Qing, it's been so many years. Is that Miss Ruoshi still here? She should still be here. Qing Ning nodded. At that time, Ruoshi sent a letter saying that she and Wu Lei were guests at the Ji family. Later, they didn't go back. Maybe they were delayed by something. How do we find her? Go directly to the Ji family. Murong whispered. Qing Ning shook her head. One must be vigilant. Ning Chen's identity can't be known by others. I can go to the Ji family alone. Murong thought for a while and nodded. The two continued to move forward. In front, was running around, buying many things along the way. Her hands and mouth were full. I heard that young Master Ning is a cold and heartless person. I didn't expect his disciple to be like a child. Murong pushed the wheelchair and said with a calm expression. Er's personality is very similar to Ning Chen's when he was young. It's just that he's experienced too many things later on. That's why he's become so unreasonable. In reality, he's the one who hates fighting the most in this world. Qing Ning's gaze was gentle as she replied. Sister Qing Ning, where are we staying tonight? Are we going to the Ji family? Was a little tired from playing, so she ran back and asked. You and Murong find an inn to rest temporarily. I'll go to the Ji family to find your sister Ruoshi. Qing Ning said softly. I want to go too. Muttered softly. Be good. You still have to protect your master. This time, you can't lose your master. Qing Ning exhorted. Oh. Pouted and reluctantly agreed. In front of an inn, the 4 people walked over. Qing Ning quickly arranged things here and left. On the second floor of the inn, was lying in front of the window, looking outside in boredom. She wanted to go out and play, but she didn't dare to. Murong sat by the bed and wiped the dust off the man's face. She looked at the maidservant beside her and said softly, if you want to go out, then go out. I'll watch over here. No. Mumbled before continuing, Big Sister Mu, you don't have any cultivation right now. If there are bad guys, you won't be able to handle them. Don't worry, this is the Ji family's territory. No one will cause trouble here. Murong smiled. Was a little tempted, but after a moment, she shook her head and said, I think I'd better not go. I'll wait for Sister Qing Ning to come back before going out. Murong smiled and didn't say anything else. Inside the Ji family's main sect, numerous majestic halls stood in great numbers. After experiencing a terrifying battle just now, the atmosphere was somewhat stifling. The Ji clan's sacred leader had been injured. This was a major event that shocked the entire Ji clan. All the important figures of the Ji clan returned to discuss how to deal with Prince Qi. Lin Yuzhen's strength had exceeded the Ji clan's expectations. The Ji clan's sacred leader had already reached the peak of the true realm, but he had still been defeated by her. This was a result that no one had expected. Sacred leader, how is your body? Why don't you rest for a few days? Let us handle the Ji clan's matters for now. In the Ji clan's sacred hall, an old man sitting below the main seat spoke up. Thank you for your concern, Grand Elder. I'm fine. Ji Yuechu replied tiredly from the main seat. After sitting down, the Ji clan's Grand Elders looked at the sacred leader's expression. They all had different thoughts. They could see that the sacred leader's injuries were not light. It would be very difficult for him to recover in a short period of time. At the same time, Qing Ning walked over to the Ji clan's disciples guarding the entrance. Miss, please wait a moment. Seeing that the newcomer had an extraordinary aura, the Ji clan's disciples didn't dare to be negligent. They nodded and walked into the Ji clan. Not long after, a well-dressed maid walked over and respectfully bowed. Miss Qing, my young miss invites you. Qing Ning nodded and stepped forward to follow. On the east side of the Ji clan's sacred hall, in a quiet side hall, a woman was waiting quietly. Her face was flawless and her temperament was extraordinary. She was the pride of the heavens. Young miss, the person has arrived. The maid came forward and bowed. You can leave first. Ji Yuqing said. The maid accepted the order and turned to leave. Miss, are you the Miss Qing Ning that Ruoshi spoke of? Ji Yuqing looked at the green-clothed woman in front of her with a strange light in her eyes. Qing Ning greets you. Sorry to disturb young Mississippi, Qing Ning stepped forward and politely bowed. Miss Qing, there's no need to be so polite. Ruoshi will be here soon. Let's go inside and wait. Ji Yuqing smiled. Qing Ning nodded and stepped forward to follow. Inside the Rain Pavilion Hall, two maids came forward to serve tea and immediately turned to leave. Why is only Miss Qing Ning here? Didn't young Master Ning come? Ji Yuqing was puzzled. Something came up, so I came alone to pick up the girl. Ruoshi has been here for a long time, it's time to go back. Qing Ning responded. As soon as her voice fell, a beautiful figure quickly walked in from outside the hall. After seeing the woman in the hall, her face showed excitement and shouted, Sister Qing Ning. Qing Ning's gaze shifted to the approaching figure and smiled. Ruoshi, you've been out for so long, have you forgotten all about us? Don't you know how to go home? Ruoshi heard this and embarrassedly replied, Sister Qing Ning, don't laugh at me. Wu Lei's cultivation has reached a critical point and has been in seclusion for a long time. I've been waiting for her here so I haven't gone back. Oh. Qing Ning showed a strange expression, that girl is about to break through again. That's really fast. I remember she's not much older than but she's much more capable than Ruoshi covered her mouth and smiled. Has been following young master since she started cultivating. She's like a little ancestor, who can control her. Speaking up to hear, Ruoshi looked around and asked, where's young master? Why didn't he come? Ning Chen has some matters to attend to so he didn't come. I'm here today to pick you up, Qing Ning said softly. Ruoshi showed a difficult expression and said, then what about Wu Lei? I'll come back to pick her up in a few days, Qing Ning said. Ruoshi thought for a moment and nodded gently. She then bowed to Ji Yuqing who was sitting at the side and said, Yuqing, thank you for your hospitality these days. Since Qing Ning has come to pick me up, I'll go back first. Okay. Ji Yuqing nodded slightly and said, don't worry, Wu Lei will be fine here. Please help me tell your young master that Yuqing thanks him for taking care of her on the ancient road. If he has time, he's welcome to visit our Ji family. I'll pass on the message, Ruoshi whispered. Miss Ji, it's getting late. Ruoshi and I won't disturb you any longer. Goodbye. Qing Ning got up and said goodbye. Then, she walked out of the hall with the woman beside her. Not long after the two left, a middle-aged man in blue and white clothes appeared in the hall. Looking at the two leaving, he said, that Ning Chen didn't come? Father. Ji Yuqing got up and bowed. Shaking her head, she said, no, this Miss Qing is young Master Ning's elder sister. This time, she came in person. It should be that young Master Ning has something to do. What a pity. I originally wanted to see what kind of heavenly genius Mo Gate's ninth son is, Ji Yuechu said regretfully. Father, is that really what you think? Ji Yuqing looked over and asked seriously. What do you think father is thinking? Ji Yuechu smiled. Young Master Ning has slaughtered many star fields venerables in the ancient battlefield. Not to mention other star fields, even our Ji family's spirit void star field has countless people who want to take his life. If we can capture young Master Ning and hand him over to them, regardless of life or death, I think it will be a good opportunity for our Ji family to gain favor and prestige, Ji Yuqing said seriously. My daughter has really grown up. You know how to analyze the pros and cons. However, are these words in your heart, or are you using them to test me? Ji Yuechu's smile didn't change. What does father think? Ji Yuqing calmly said. Ha! Ji Yuechu chuckled and said, no matter what, I'm gratified that you can think of this. Alright, you don't have to be so worried. Since you are indebted to the ninth son of Mo Gate, I won't easily make things difficult for him. Of course, the premise is that he can't do anything that will harm our Ji family's interests. Ji Yuqing didn't say anything after hearing that. She bowed and said, Yuqing thanks father. Ji Yuechu nodded and looked out of the hall. A strange look flashed across his face. Is it a coincidence that the elder sister of Mo Gate's ninth son is here at this time? The high priest of Beiki is quite powerful. Unless it's a true realm expert, no one has the confidence to take his life. If one only considers strength, Mo Gate's ninth son is also a suspect. At the same time, in Fengming City, a woman in armor walked into the palace and bowed respectfully, Your Highness, Miss Ruoshi, whom you asked the spies to keep an eye on, just left the Ji family not long ago. Oh. In the palace, Lin Yuzhen turned around and asked with a strange look, is it just her alone? No, there's a woman in green beside her. Her cultivation is around the true realm, the woman replied. No one else? Lin Yuzhen asked with a serious look. No, the woman said respectfully. I understand. You may leave first, Lin Yuzhen waved her hand. Yes. The woman got up and left. Your Highness, what's wrong? Concubine Yun stepped forward and asked. The ninth son of Mo Gate is here, Lin Yuzhen said calmly. How did your Highness know? Concubine Yun was startled and puzzled. The Phoenix Guards didn't report this matter just now. Intuition. Lin Yuzhen said lightly. A woman's straightforwardness has always been accurate. This time was no exception. Let's go, follow this king to White Emperor City and meet our brother Ning. After that, Lin Yuzhen stepped out of the palace and walked out of King City. Concubine Yun came back to her senses and immediately followed. Her eyes were still filled with suspicion. She couldn't understand why Her Highness wanted to go in person just because of intuition. Chapter 803. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Outside White Emperor City, the two walked for 1,000 miles before stopping. Sister Qing Ning, did young master really not come? Ruoshi asked doubtfully. He came. Qing Ning said. Ruoshi was startled, Where? White Emperor City. Qing Ning turned around and looked at the glorious city in the distance. Something happened to Ning Chen. He's been in a coma for 10 years. Ruoshi's body shook, her face full of disbelief. I was worried that someone would follow us, so I took you away from White Emperor City first. Let's go back now. How did something happen to young master? Ruoshi asked worriedly. He was injured when saving Ghost Woman. Qing Ning replied, Ning Chen's body was destroyed in the heavenly punishment. After Ghost Woman woke up, she used the immortal peach tree to reconstruct his essence. In the past 10 years, I used my own blood to help him recover his body, but for some reason, he hasn't woken up. Ruoshi was shocked. What about Ghost Woman? Did she come too? No, do you remember the immortal corpse that Ning Chen mentioned that looked exactly like Ghost Woman? After she reconstructed Ning Chen's essence, they left together. Qing Ning replied. Ruoshi frowned. She left? Is Ghost Woman really resurrected? With her temperament, how could she leave without waiting for young master to wake up? Qing Ning sighed softly. The matter of coming back from the dead is unimaginable. I can't be sure. The only thing I can be sure of is that Ghost Woman is different from before. I can't see any emotion in her eyes. Even her consciousness doesn't seem to have returned. Did she fail? Ruoshi narrowed her eyes. I'm not sure. We'll talk about this later. The most important thing now is to find a way to wake Ning Chen up as soon as possible. Qing Ning said worriedly. Has young master shown any signs of waking up in the past 10 years? Ruoshi was puzzled. It's a long story. Let's talk about it on the way. Qing Ning said, and her figure flashed back the way they came. Ruoshi nodded and followed with light footsteps. White Emperor City. After night fell, the entire ancient city quieted down. On the second floor of the inn, Qing Ning and Ruoshi knocked on the door and immediately pushed it open. When he saw the two of them, the wariness on Murong's face finally disappeared and he secretly sighed in relief. In the room, beside the table, Yin, who had been waiting, was so sleepy that her eyes were fighting to stay open. When she heard the noise, she looked at the two of them in a daze. Then, she quivered and came back to her senses. Sister Qing Ning, you're finally back. Yin, jumped up happily. Qing Ning stretched out her hand to knock on the maid's head and said softly, keep your voice down. Do you want to wake up everyone in the inn? When Yin, heard this, she covered her mouth and giggled, not daring to speak loudly. On the other side, Ruoshi worriedly walked to the bed and reached out to check the pulse of the person on the bed. After a long time, the look in her eyes became more and more intense. The love goo was indeed awakened by Miss Murong's primordial yin. However, young master's pulse didn't show any abnormalities. Logically speaking, he should have woken up a long time ago. A few days ago, when Murong was in danger, Ning Chen helped her. However, when we rushed over, we found that he still hadn't woken up. Qing Ning said. The love goo does have the ability to stimulate its host. Because Murong's primordial yin saved it, when Murong is in danger, the love goo will produce a kind of poison. It allows young master to feel Murong's danger and help her. Ruoshi explained. Next to her, Yin, was in a daze. She shook her little head vigorously and muttered, I don't understand. Then how can master wake up? Simple. While speaking, the door was pushed open with a creak. A handsome figure walked in and looked at the four people. He smiled and said, let Miss Murong experience another life and death crisis. Seeing the person who came, Ruoshi trembled and said in shock, Prince Qi. Feeling the powerful aura of the former, Yin, also became nervous and subconsciously stood in front of the bed to protect her master. There's no need to be nervous. This prince is friends with young Master Ning behind you. This time, I only came to repay a favor from back then. Lin Yuzhen said. Yin, looked at the person next to her suspiciously. How come she didn't know that her master knew this Prince Qi? Move aside. If he wanted to harm your master, he wouldn't have waited until now. Qing Ning calmly said. The people around Mo Gate's ninth son really aren't ordinary. Lin Yuzhen chuckled and stepped forward. She stretched out her hand and probed the meridians of the man on the bed. A vast amount of true qi poured into his body. Nervously watched, afraid that this person would harm her master. How strange. Sensing that the true qi in Ning Chen's body had disappeared, Lin Yuzhen's eyes flashed with surprise. She withdrew her hand and said, his body can actually contain so much energy. Is there a way? Qing Ning asked. His aura is different from the first time this prince saw him. Can you tell me why? Lin Yuzhen asked seriously. His body has been reconstructed, so his aura has changed. Qing Ning truthfully said. His body has been reconstructed. Lin Yuzhen frowned and asked, what is the foundation? The core of a divine tree, Qing Ning calmly said. Lin Yuzhen was silent. After a moment, she said, perhaps I know why he can devour so much energy. The divine tree you speak of shouldn't be an ordinary divine object. Young Master Ning's body was reconstructed using this divine tree as the foundation, so the amount of true qi needed to restore it to its original state must be extremely terrifying. Lin Yuzhen paused for a moment and looked at the four of them. She sternly said, this prince has two suggestions. Which one you choose will depend on you. First, let him maintain his current state. As long as we can find enough heavenly treasures, once his body completely recovers, he should be able to wake up. Second, according to this prince's previous suggestion, let Miss Murong once again fall into a life and death crisis. Perhaps it can stimulate young Master Ning to wake up earlier. I can go by heavenly treasures. How much do you need? Asked while holding her little pouch. You will have to ask Miss Qing about this. How much true qi will be needed to restore young Master Ning's body to its original state? Lin Yuzhen earnestly asked. Qing Ning fell silent. She couldn't answer this question. The undying peach tree needed 9,000 years to bloom and bear fruit. Ning Chen's physical body was reforged using it as a foundation. Even if it didn't take that many years, the amount of energy required was still terrifying beyond imagination. It seems like the first method isn't feasible. Lin Yuzhen calmly said, then, we can only choose the second method. Let young Master Ning wake up first, then deal with his body's problem. No. Qing Ning gently shook her head and said, I know Ning Chen's character. If something happens to Murong because of saving him, even if he wakes up, he will feel guilty for the rest of his life. Qing Ning, let me do it. My body can't hold on for much longer. If I can save him, it will be worth it, Murong softly said. Absolutely not. Qing Ning rejected her once again without the slightest hesitation. I also want to save him, but I can't sacrifice you. This isn't a matter of whether it's worth it or not. You don't have to say it again. Lin Yuzhen calmly looked on from the side and didn't say anything. It was rumored that Mo Gate's ninth disciple was a cold-blooded, murderous demon. Who would have thought that he and the people beside him were the world's most reasonable people? Both methods were rejected, and the atmosphere became tense. Murong sighed softly, her heart filled with complex emotions. She rejoiced that she had met Ning Chen, Qing Ning, and the others before the end of her life. She had felt the true warmth of humanity, but she also felt somewhat helpless. She wanted to save him, but they wouldn't agree. Actually, when I said that we should put young Lady Murong in danger, we don't need to sacrifice you. As long as we can save him in time, young Lady Murong's safety shouldn't be a problem, Lin Yuzhen said. Murong looked over at her with a puzzled expression. Lin Yuzhen put away her fan and flickered. She raised her hand and pointed it at the woman's chest. Her killing intent was bone-chilling. An inch away, Lin Yuzhen stopped and looked at the man on the bed. She sighed, as expected, it won't work. It seems we need to put young Lady Murong in true danger. After saying that, Lin Yuzhen looked at the woman beside her and said, Young Lady Qing, in 10 days, I will go to the Ji family to cause a ruckus. At that time, I can bring young Lady Murong with me. Perhaps that will stimulate young Master Ning to wake up. Of course, don't worry, I will always be on the lookout. I won't let anything happen to young Lady Murong. Qing Ning, let me go. Without waiting for the woman beside him to refuse, Murong's expression turned serious as he resolutely said, With Prince Qi here, nothing will happen to me. Furthermore, I've already given my everything to him. I don't want to die without saying a single word to him. Qing Ning stiffened. A moment later, she sighed and said tiredly, You can make your own decision. Murong looked at the cross-dressing woman in front of her and earnestly said, Your Highness Prince Qi, I'll have to trouble you this time. Don't worry, I will do my best to ensure young lady's safety. Lin Yuzhen softly replied, then continued, That's right, why don't you all temporarily come to my Phoenix Cry city? Since I was able to find this place, the Ji family will definitely be able to as well. The Ji family's power in White Emperor City is much more terrifying than you know. Qing Ning thought for a moment, then nodded. Then I'll have to trouble you. You're welcome. Lin Yuzhen smiled and extended her hand. Please. Qing Ning nodded and helped Ning Chen onto the wheelchair. She then pushed him out of the room. Yin ran up and glanced behind her. She secretly asked, Big sister Qing Ning, she isn't a bad person, right? A person's heart is hard to fathom. However, at least for now, she doesn't have any enmity towards us, replied Qing Ning. Oh. Yin softly replied. She once again looked at Lin Yuzhen behind her, then hastily turned her head away again. Lin Yuzhen smiled and didn't mind. So this girl was young Master Ning's disciple. Her talent wasn't bad, but she was a bit stupid. It was hard for a person to grow without experiencing wind and rain. However, it seemed that young Master Ning didn't want this girl to become a second him. Was it because he had experienced too much and didn't want this child to experience the same pain? Chapter 804. Phoenix Cry City, Royal Palace. There was an exquisite and luxurious palace that lacked the luxury of an emperor's palace but was more exquisite. Lin Yuzhen, who had returned to the royal palace, was still wearing his elegant royal robes. He was handsome and noble. Prince Qi of Beiki had been a man since he was young. He had spent his entire life in the military and did not lose to any famous general. He had coincidentally embarked on the path of cultivation and was famous throughout the world. It could be said that Prince Qi was a legendary existence in the White Emperor Star and even the entire Spirit Void Star region. Lin Yuzhen and Qing Ning were sitting in the Phoenix Cry Palace, discussing matters together. In the guest room, Murong and Ruo Shi were carefully taking care of the unconscious Ning Chen, not daring to be careless. Yin who couldn't stay idle, was being led around by the palace maids. She was nowhere to be found. 10 days later, is Prince Qi really going to attack the Ji family? Qing Ning asked. I've already said it, how can I go back on my words? Lin Yuzhen smiled. Aristocratic families run deep, especially a behemoth like the Ji family. Their background is unfathomable. Although Prince Qi is not afraid of anyone, it's not a good choice to take the risk alone, Qing Ning said softly. It's fine. Lin Yuzhen smiled and said, the only person in the Ji family who can threaten my safety, Ji Yuechu, is injured. As long as I'm careful, there won't be any danger on this trip to the Ji family. Does Prince Qi really believe that the Ji family is responsible for the death of your high priest? Qing Ning asked calmly. It's not important whether it is or not. Lin Yuzhen smiled and said, what's important is that someone has to take responsibility for this matter. The blood of the Ji family is on the altar, so they must pay the price. When Qing Ning heard this, she was silent for a moment. She was unwilling to say anything more on this topic, so she changed the topic. Your Highness Prince Chi, are you really confident that you can bring Murong back safely? If you can't, then please tell me clearly. I cannot let Murong take this risk. Lin Yuzhen looked at the woman in front of him and said, Miss Qing, this Miss Murong shouldn't be familiar with you, right? I can more or less see that. Qing Ning nodded and did not hide anything. She said, it's true that we haven't known Murong for long, but Murong saved Ning Chen before, so I have the responsibility to ensure her safety. Lin Yuzhen nodded and said, to be honest, the poison in Miss Murong's body has already invaded her internal organs. There is no medicine that can cure her. If you hadn't been suppressing the poison with your genuine qi, she wouldn't have been able to hold on. However, this is only a temporary measure. Unless you can find a way to rebuild Miss Murong's body like you did for young Master Ning, her body won't be able to hold on for long. Qing Ning fell silent, not saying anything for a long time. Reconstructing a physical body was easier said than done. How could there be a second undying divine tree in this world? It seems that Miss Qing has no other choice. Since that's the case, why don't we let Miss Murong have a taste of her heart's desire? She has already given herself to young Master Ning. If she can't even say a word to him before she dies, how regretful would that be? Lin Yuzhen said seriously. Qing Ning stood up, silently stepped forward, and bowed. Qing Ning beseeches Your Highness, Prince Qi, to protect Murong to the best of your ability, so that she can return safely. I will definitely do my best. Lin Yuzhen replied seriously. Back then, Ning Chen had gifted her the heavenly ship. She had never had the chance to return this favor. Now was the best chance. Protecting a person wasn't difficult for her. If it was as easy as lifting a hand to save a powerhouse whose name shook the starry skies, it would be worth it. Your Highness. At this moment, a phoenix guard walked out from outside the hall and respectfully said, the Qilin Pavilion has sent someone to deliver an invitation card, inviting Your Highness to be a guest. Qilin Pavilion? Lin Yuzhen frowned slightly and took the invitation card. After reading it, her eyes narrowed slightly. It was truly one wave after another. Understood. You may leave, Lin Yuzhen said calmly. Yes. The Phoenix Guard accepted the order and left. Does Your Highness have something to take care of? Then Qing Ning will leave first. Seeing the former's serious expression, Qing Ning stood up and said. No need. Lin Yuzhen returned to her senses and raised her hand. It just so happens that I also want to hear Miss Qing's suggestion. While speaking, Lin Yuzhen handed over the invitation card in her hand and said, does Miss Qing know what kind of place the Qilin Pavilion is? Qing Ning took the invitation card and looked at it. She shook her head and said, I'm not sure. Lin Yuzhen looked at the Qilin symbol on the invitation card and said, for tens of thousands of years, in the various starfields, there have been countless sects and great sections. Among them, there are 11 that are the most powerful. They are called the One Mansion, One Hall, 2 Lineages, 3 Sects, and 4 Pavilions. The One Mansion and One Hall are respectively the Underworld and the Underworld. The 2 lineages refer to the Spirit Void G family's God bloodline and the Alcade Starfields by family's true immortal bloodline. The 3 sects refer to the Buddhist, Taoist, and Devil sections. The 4 pavilions refer to the Sword Pavilion, Qilin Pavilion, Bu-Tian Pavilion, and Qi-Tian Pavilion. Speaking up to here, Lin Yuzhen's tone changed and said, however, time is merciless. Even these colossi cannot last forever. According to what I know, the original strongest One Mansion and One Hall, the Underworld, has collapsed, and the Underworld has suffered great losses. Among the 3 sects, the Taoist inheritance has almost disappeared. The Buddhist kingdom has been passed down to this day, but it has always been very low-key and aloof from worldly affairs. As for the Devil sect, due to internal strife, it has not appeared for a long time. Compared to these inheritances that have almost disappeared, the 2 lineages and 4 pavilions have always existed in the world. The difference is that the 2 lineages are known to the world, while the 4 pavilions are hidden in the dark. Does Your Highness Prince Qi have any dealings with the Qilin Pavilion? Qing Ning asked. It's precisely because they don't that this prince finds it strange. Lin Yuzhen said seriously, it's true that the Qilin Pavilion is in the spirit void realm. However, this prince has never had any dealings with them. For them to send an invitation at this time is truly puzzling. There's no good banquet, there's no good meeting. Qing Ning said calmly. The Qilin Pavilion had set the time to be 10 days later, and it was obvious that they knew about the matter between Prince Qi and the Ji family. 10 days later, no matter if Prince Qi was able to walk out of the Ji family safely or not, he would definitely have consumed quite a bit of his cultivation. It was impossible for him to be in his peak state. Looks like Miss Qing has the same thoughts as this prince. This Qilin Pavilion's invitation is a hot potato. Lin Yuzhen said calmly. One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. The Qilin Pavilion had not appeared for thousands of years, and the moment they appeared, they sent an invitation to Phoenix Cry City. It did not seem like a good thing. Does Your Highness want to go? Qing Ning asked. I have no choice but to go. Lin Yuzhen said seriously, the Qilin Pavilion's strength does not lose out to the Ji family. This prince is not conceited enough to be able to contend against 2 great peak inheritances at the same time. The confrontation between Phoenix Cry City and the Ji family was due to the territorial issue, and there was no other choice. However, the Qilin Pavilion was different. Up until now, she did not have any direct conflict with the Qilin Pavilion. If she could avoid becoming enemies, that would be the best thing. Qing Ning sighed softly in her heart. As a woman, this Prince Qi was definitely worthy of being a prodigy of a generation. However, no matter how strong a person was, it was impossible for them to do whatever they wanted. Prince Qi was the same. Your Highness, Miss has left the palace. Outside the palace, the Phoenix Guard quickly walked in and reported. Lin Yuzhen looked at the person in front of him and did not say anything. Don't bother about her. When she's tired from playing, she will return by herself. Qing Ning said. Lin Yuzhen nodded towards the Phoenix Guard and let him do as he was told. The Phoenix Guard respectfully accepted the order and retreated. Miss Qing, this Miss is a good seedling. Don't delay her. Lin Yuzhen tactfully reminded. Qing Ning smiled and softly said, I understand Your Highness' good intentions. But, Ning Chen told me before that there is no need to force this girl too much. As long as she can grow up happily, it doesn't matter whether or not she can become a powerhouse that shakes the world. Lin Yuzhen gently nodded. A master was a master, and a master was like a father to her. Perhaps his words were correct. In Phoenix Cry City, was hugging a pile of things in her arms. She ran here and there, not resting for a moment. Behind her, 2 Phoenix Guards followed her from a distance, carefully protecting the person in front. Big sisters, can you help me carry these things? After a long time, ran back with the things she was carrying. She gave a small portion to the 2 Phoenix Guards and embarrassedly said, I can't carry them all. The 2 Phoenix Guards received the things. They couldn't help but look at each other in dismay, helplessness flashing on their faces. They had been ordered to protect this girl. It seemed this wasn't an easy task. In a guest room of Phoenix Cry Palace, Roashi brought in some clean water and wiped the body of the person on the bed. It was like she was a little maid 100 years ago. Even after 100 years, nothing had changed. To the side, Murong blushed and turned away. The shyness of a girl was clearly evident. Murong, come and help. Roashi saw this and said. Oh. Murong nervously responded. She walked over to the bed, not knowing what to do. Why are you more nervous than me? Roashi helplessly said. As Murong heard this, her face flushed red and she became even more flustered. Help me lift up the young master. Don't wet the bed. Ruo, she urged. Murong sat on the edge of the bed and helped the man up. For a time, she didn't know where to look. Half an hour's time felt like half a year to Murong. Half an hour later, Ruo, she finished wiping Ning Chen's body and helped him put on his clothes. Only then did Murong she let out a long sigh of relief. At this time, outside the room, the door creaked open and ran in. As she saw the situation in the room, she immediately cried out in alarm and covered her eyes with her hands. Crash! Crash! The pile of things in the little girl's arms fell to the ground, spilling everywhere. What are you shouting for? I've finished wiping him. Ruo, she stepped forward and knocked on the former's head. Opened her eyes and saw that her master was indeed dressed. She giggled and squatted down to pick up her things. Ruo, she carried the water out of the room. Murong stepped forward and squatted down to help pick up the things. She asked, where is your big sister Qing Ning? She's discussing something with Prince Qi. Thought for a moment. Murong nodded and whispered, 10 days from now, you must protect your master well. Don't lose him again. Nodded vigorously, I will. Murong gently smiled. She picked up the last of the things and placed them in the little girl's arms. Then, she stood up. She hoped that this time, Sir Ning would truly wake up. Then, even if she died, she would be able to rest in peace. Chapter 805. Phoenix Cry Palace. Time passed day after day. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. The entire atmosphere of Phoenix Cry Palace became solemn. As the sun rose, Lin Yuzhen walked out from Phoenix Cry Palace. Her hair was tied up and she held a divine sword in her hand. She was handsome and heroic, revealing the calmness and strength of a king. From the side, pushed a wheelchair forward. Murong followed beside her as they walked out of the royal palace. Behind them, Qing Ning and Ruo Shi followed from a distance. For this trip to the Ji family, it wasn't good for them to show their faces. They had to act in secret. White Emperor City, the Ji family's main sect. They were a colossus that had existed for countless years. Today, they were facing a great enemy. The entire Ji family was on guard. Layers upon layers of array formations were activated, shining with a brilliant light. As the sun rose to the southeast, outside the Ji family, a handsome and extraordinary figure walked in. Step by step, he stepped on the hearts of the many powerhouses guarding the Ji family. With Prince Qi's arrival, the Ji family's 4 highest elders appeared. They stood in an array formation, guarding against this great enemy. Outside the Ji family, Lin Yuzhen looked at the 4 people in front of her. She coldly said, 10 days have passed. Have you considered whether you want to hand over the murderer of my dynasty's high priest or allow me to seek justice for myself? Lin Yuzhen, this is not your Phoenix Cry City. This is not a place where you can be so presumptuous. Ji Changkong walked out, his voice gloomy. So, you won't hand it over? As she spoke, true essence surged around Lin Yuzhen's body. A powerful pressure swept out. Immediately, the skies above White Emperor City changed and the sun lost its color. Behind her, Murong followed close behind. She was actually the calmest of the 4. 10 miles away, within White Emperor City, pushed Ning Chen's wheelchair as she looked at the Ji family battle in the distance. Her face flashed with nervousness. Not too far away, Qing Ning and Ruo Shi were silently watching, waiting for the great battle to begin. At the same time, in different places, the void fluctuated and figures appeared one after another. All the influences had arrived, waiting to witness Prince Qi's battle to topple the undefeated legend of the Ji family. Pavilion Master, didn't you say you were going to the Buddhist kingdom? Why did you come here first? 1,000 miles away, in the distorted void, Hong Wan asked the man beside her. I received news that our debtor is going to challenge the Ji family alone. This tower master naturally has to come and take a look. If she dies, who will this tower master look for to get the money she owes? The Dawn Moon Tower Master said with a light smile. Does Pavilion Master believe that Prince Chi will lose? Hong Wan was puzzled. That's not it. The Dawn Moon Tower Mistress shook her head and said, that woman, Lin Yuzhen, is ridiculously strong. In a head-on battle, no one in the Ji clan other than the Sacred Master can last more than 100 moves against her. However, aristocratic clans are very complicated. Who knows if the Ji clan's divine bloodline has any hidden trump cards? So many people are paying attention to this battle. The Ji family shouldn't use any underhanded methods, right? Hong Wan asked seriously. The trump cards I'm talking about aren't sinister methods, but those old monsters that can't see the light of day in the depths of the Ji family. Let's see how far Lin Yuzhen can force the Ji family, said the Dawn Moon Pavilion's master. As the two of them spoke, in front of the Ji family's formation, Lin Yuzhen released her cultivation. A powerful pressure swept out in all directions, causing the skies to change color. Murong, follow behind me. Don't go more than 100 steps, Lin Yuzhen warned. Yes. Murong nodded and agreed softly. Let's go. With that, Lin Yuzhen's figure flashed, and she rushed into the Ji family's formation. Murong quickly followed. Although she had lost her cultivation, she could still keep up within 100 steps. Oh. Who is that? 1,000 miles away, the Dawn Moon Tower Mistress narrowed her eyes at the woman following behind Lin Yuzhen. Who was this person? She actually dared to enter the formation with Prince Chi. Did she have a death wish? Within the Ji family, Prince Chi had entered the formation, and the 4 Grand Elders had joined forces to obstruct him. Lin Yuzhen fought the 4 Grand Elders alone, and her figure moved with the momentum of a thunderbolt as she fought the 4 Grand Elders of the Ji family. After exchanging 10 moves, the formation constantly flickered and shook violently. Their palms collided, causing shockwaves to roar through the heavens. You think you're the only ones who can stop me? How naive. Lin Yuzhen's figure flipped, and she withdrew from the battle. Her slender hand transformed into wind and lightning. In an instant, heavenly lightning surged and gales roared as she charged at the 4 Grand Elders. Their expressions changed, and they joined hands to block the attack. With a loud bang, they all retreated. Retreat! The 4 Supreme Elders of the Ji clan immediately retreated from the formation and disappeared. Lin Yuzhen waved her hand to disperse the formation and walked forward with a cold expression. 100 steps behind her, Murong quietly followed without a trace of nervousness or fear. Boom! At that moment, the void shook, and 3 enormous war chariots appeared above the Ji family. On the war chariots stood ancient warriors in golden armor. Although they didn't have any vitality, their powerful auras didn't lose to any of the Grand Elders. Golden armored war chariots. Seeing the 3 war chariots in the sky, Lin Yuzhen's eyes flashed. She took a step forward and flew into the air. Her slender hand clenched into a fist, and she punched the golden warriors on the war chariots. With a loud rumble, the powerful punch landed on the golden warriors and war chariots. The war chariots flew 100 feet away and crashed into the ground. However, they weren't damaged at all. Behind them, 2 war chariots attacked. Their mountain-like bodies collided with Prince Chi, and the void couldn't bear the huge force and collapsed. Prince Chi took a step forward and moved through the air, avoiding the 2 war chariots. Boom! The 2 war chariots collided, but the incomparably hard war chariots were still undamaged. On the war chariots, the 2 golden warriors waved their halberds and slashed through the void. Prince Chi's eyes narrowed, and his figure flashed, dodging again. Behind him, the war chariots that had crashed to the ground flew up, and the golden warriors waved their halberds with great force. 3 broken chariots dare to block this king's path. Prince Chi's expression turned cold, and he directly punched the halberds. With a violent tremor, the halberds in the golden warrior's hands shattered, and the war chariots beneath them crashed into the ground again. A rumble resounded through the world. Within the Ji family, the ascending immortals were all shocked. Prince Chi's strength was truly shocking. The 3 war chariots each had the power of a mid-stage true realm expert, but they were still unable to withstand a single blow from him. The most frightening thing was that Prince Chi still hadn't unsheathed his Phoenix Cry sword. Summon the immortal artifact. In front of the Ji family's sacred hall, a white-robed elder said coldly. Yes. The 100 or so guards of the Ji family all half-knelt, and boundless karmic luck soared into the sky. Within the dazzling azure gold light, an immortal cauldron appeared, its dazzling brilliance illuminating the world. Its might shook the heavens. The appearance of the immortal cauldron caused a terrifying pressure to appear within the Ji family. Azure gold light shot out from the immortal cauldron, pressing down on the figure in the sky. Lin Yuzhen's expression turned serious, and she slowly drew her Phoenix Cry sword. At this moment, the cry of a phoenix echoed in the sky, and an abnormally powerful pressure spread from the sword. The image of a phoenix soared into the sky, directly colliding with the azure gold light. The clash between an immortal item and a divine sword shook the heavens and the earth. The 3 war chariots saw the opportunity and once again broke through the sky. Phoenix dances 9 heavens. With an almost undetectable sound, the Phoenix Cry sword in Lin Yuzhen's hand slashed out streaks of light, and the images of phoenixes appeared and swallowed the 3 war chariots. Crack! The phoenixes charged, and the sword light split the world. The unstoppable divine sword cut the 3 war chariots in half, and with several thumps, the wreckage fell to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Buzz! In the sky, the light of the immortal cauldron shone again, and the azure gold light shone brightly. From the engraved runes, an illusory war god appeared, waving his halberd and slashing at the king in the sky. The sword and halberd collided, and the flowing light shook. Lin Yuzhen flipped her palm and pushed back the illusory war god in front of her. Her eyes turned cold, and her sword moved, causing the wind and thunder to howl, splitting the sky and earth. The illusory war god waved his halberd to meet the divine sword head-on. The vibration sounded, and the figure became even more illusory. In the sky, streaks of light shot out from the immortal cauldron, and each of them had the power of 10,000 pounds, and they fell from the sky. Lin Yuzhen clenched her palm into a fist, and with a punch, she scattered the azure gold light near her. Suddenly, her expression changed, and she hurriedly looked behind her. In the aftermath of the vibration, an azure gold light fell from the sky, and swept toward Murong, who was behind her. Lin Yuzhen's eyes darkened, and her figure quickly turned back, waving her sword to meet the divine power head-on. Boom, 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 the old force was used up, and the moment when Lin Yuzhen could not recover her energy, blood flowed from the corner of her mouth, staining it red for the first time. Kill! In the sacred palace, the white-robed Ji family grand elder said coldly. At his command, figures flashed past one after another. 4 grand elders and 11 peak corporeal realm experts joined forces to kill. Outside the Ji family's battlefield, more than 100 experts activated their powers, supporting the Ji family's immortal artifact and suppressing Prince Chi's power. What is this woman thinking? 1,000 miles away, the Dawn Moon Tower Master frowned as she watched the battle from afar. It was strange that she dared to bring a burden when fighting against a colossus like the Ji family. Murong, be careful. In the battle, Lin Yuzhen looked at the immortal cauldron in the sky with a serious expression. Okay. Murong nodded, and followed even closer. Amidst the azure gold light, the 4 grand elders of the Ji family joined forces, and behind them, 11 peak corporeal realm experts followed. The vast power was like clouds covering the sun, and it was so heavy that it was difficult to breathe. Lin Yuzhen did not dodge. Her sword condensed vast origin, and her body surged with lightning as she faced the joint forces of the grand elders head-on. In front of the Ji family's sacred palace, the Ji family Grand Elder looked at the brave figures in the battle. A moment later, his gaze shifted to the woman behind Prince Chi, and a cold smile appeared on his face. He raised his right hand, and immediately, the immortal cauldron in the sky hummed, and a beautiful waterfall of light fell, slashing toward the ladder. Despicable. Lin Yuzhen felt it, and her expression changed. She pushed back everyone with her sword, and arrived in front of Murong. She raised her sword and blocked the immortal pressure. A pool of blood splashed out, dyeing her clothes red, and the Phoenix Cry sword was dyed red. It was very dazzling. Your sins are unforgivable. Furrowing her eyebrows, Lin Yuzhen raised her hand to wipe off the blood at the corner of her mouth. Killing intent exploded from her body, and at that moment, an aura visible to the naked eye surged. On the Phoenix Cry sword, streaks of blood-colored light surged out, and an ancient power surged out. The cry of the phoenix soared into the sky. Phoenix radiance returns to origin, 3 lights open a path. Extreme power appeared, and the phoenix broke through the sky. Its terrifying power directly collided with the immortal artifact in the sky. 10 miles away from the battle, in front of Yin Ji Ming, who was dressed in plain clothes, was silently lying in a wheelchair. His body that had been unresponsive all this time suddenly moved his right hand. It was so slight that even Yin who was close by, did not notice it. Chapter 806. In the sky above the Ji family, the Phoenix Cry crashed into the immortal cauldron. There was a moment of silence before a loud explosion resounded through the universe. Endless turbulence surged and the sky collapsed. Hundreds of Ji family experts protecting the immortal cauldron were stained with blood as they suffered heavy injuries. In the aftermath, the phoenix turned into a sword. Lin Yuzhen held the Phoenix Cry sword and looked at the heavily injured experts of the Ji family. The coldness in her eyes did not diminish. Below, the 4 supreme elders of the Ji family stabilized their bodies and suppressed the shock in their hearts. They stepped into the air and charged toward the former. Lin Yuzhen sneered and rushed out like lightning. The Phoenix Cry danced and bright light shone in all directions. Blood splattered everywhere. Without the suppression of the immortal cauldron, the unshakable king of Baiki once again displayed his shocking power. Every time he moved his sword, an array would collapse. In an instant, the 4 supreme elders of the Ji family were all injured. 5 of the 11 peak reality realm experts were heavily injured and completely lost their ability to fight. It's your turn. In front of the holy palace, the great elder of the Ji family glanced at the 9 black-clothed figures behind him and said lightly, "Yes." The 9 of them accepted the order and joined the battle in a flash. At the same time, in a side hall of the Ji family, the Ji family's holy lord, who was supposed to be recuperating in bed, was playing chess with his only daughter. After sensing the 9 special auras outside, the corner of his mouth curled into an incomprehensible smile. "Father, aren't you worried at all?" Ji Yuqing looked at her father in front of her and asked in confusion. "What are you worried about? Are you worried that the great elder and the others will lose, or that King Qi will lose?" Ji Yuechu smiled. Ji Yuqing's expression froze and she did not know how to answer. It was common knowledge that the Ji clan was divided into 2 factions. Wherever there were people, there would be conflict. No sect was an exception. Now that her father had been seriously injured by Prince Qi, the first elder had seized the opportunity to seize power. If the first elder could successfully stop Prince Qi, there was no doubt that the first elder's prestige in the Ji clan would rise to an unprecedented level. It would not be impossible for him to seize the opportunity to replace her father as the Holy Lord. However, if King Qi lost, the Ji family's reputation would be greatly damaged. This would be extremely detrimental to their future development. "Father, why don't you look worried at all?" Ji Yuqing was even more confused. Ji Yuechu looked at the chessboard in front of him, picked up a black piece, and said with a chuckle, "The great elder has wanted to seize power for a long time. Now that he finally has the chance, how can he not do his best?" However, that Prince Chi is not an easy person to deal with. It will be difficult for the great elder to stop her. Lin Yuzhen had the answer she wanted, and so did he. The death of the high priest of Beiki was just a trigger. He really wanted to see what kind of level the guardian king of Beiki could reach. As soon as the black go piece was placed, the situation of the entire board changed instantly. The dragon was revived and revealed its ferocity. 9 black-clothed experts appeared in the battle of the Ji family. They were all half-step True Realm experts, so they didn't stand out in the battle of True Realm experts. However, after seeing the 9 people appear, the expressions of the 4 Ji family's grand exalts froze. Clearly, they knew how terrifying the 9 people were. Kill. As soon as the word, kill, was uttered, the 9 black-clothed cultivators were surrounded by black mist. Chains extended horizontally and vertically, locking down the figure in the air. Meditation cultivators. In the void, Lin Yuzhen saw the black mist surrounding the 9 people. Her face turned cold as she swung her sword, breaking the chains that were close to her. As a descendant of the divine bloodline, the Ji family actually cultivates the evil arts of the Hall of the Dead. This is really an eye-opener for me. Lin Yuzhen looked at the white-robed elder in front of the holy temple in the distance and said coldly, "Power is never divided into good and evil. The only difference is the person who uses it. Prince Chi, if you surrender now, I will spare your life," the great elder of the Ji family said lightly. "Let's see if you have the ability to do so." Lin Yuzhen said coldly. The vital energy around her rose to the extreme, and her aura soared into the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds. Clatter. The sound of chains rang out again as the 9 figures rose into the air. Chains made of black mist broke through the air and sealed the entire void, leaving no gaps. Death fire burial. The 9 people shouted. Black underworld flames spread out from the crisscrossing chains that filled the sky, burning the heavens and splitting the earth, turning the void into a sea of black flames. Sensing the terrifying black flames in the sky, the 4 grand elders' eyes palpitated. The reason why the Hall of the Dead and the underworld were known as one residence and one hall in ancient times was because their cultivation arts were extremely terrifying. Even true realm experts would have a hard time resisting these underworld flames. 1,000 miles away, seeing the change in the battle situation, the waning moon pavilion's master's eyes flashed with surprise. The Ji family's hidden methods had truly shocked her. When did they obtain the cultivation arts of the Hall of the Dead? Pavilion Master, are you not going to take action? Hong Wan asked with a worried expression. Why should I? Offending the Ji family for a Prince Chi is not worth it. I never do business that loses money, the waning moon pavilion's master calmly said. But if Prince Chi dies, won't there be no one to pay back the money he owes us? We will still lose money. Hong Wan anxiously tried her best to persuade the waning moon pavilion's master. It won't be a loss. The corner of the waning moon pavilion's master's lips curled up. Being able to see such a spectacular battle is worth the money. While the 2 of them were conversing, the underworld flames were burning the sky and boiling the sea. The space sealed by countless crisscrossing chains was covered by the black flames, making it difficult for others to see the situation within. Time slowly passed, but there was no movement within the sea of black flames. The sealed space was violently collapsing, unable to endure the might of the underworld flames. Is he dead? Ji Changkong looked at the collapsing space and asked. It's already been so long, but he still hasn't come out. Everything points to disaster, Ji Changfeng coldly said. This underworld flame is truly terrifying. First Elder's hidden trump card isn't something a single person can block. Another Grand Elder walked up and looked at the 9 people standing in the sky with a grave expression. How should we deal with that girl? Ji Changfeng's gaze shifted to the girl not far away. Let her die with Prince Qi, Ji Changkong indifferently said. Ji Changfeng nodded and raised his right hand. A powerful force spread out and attacked the girl in front of him. As the murderous intent approached, Murong did not dodge. Instead, he looked in the direction of the Ji residence and revealed a complicated smile. It's truly regretful that I couldn't wait for you to wake up. However, she didn't regret it. The palm energy swiftly rushed over and a gale whistled. At this moment, the world within a radius of several dozen miles suddenly turned sluggish. Grass and trees flew up, rocks flew into the air, and everything turned into swords. The laws of the world turned into swords. Seeing this, the expressions of the Ji family's elders all changed and they looked into the distance. In the next moment, 10,000 swords fell and revolved around Murong's body, crisscrossing endlessly and blocking all danger. 10 miles away, on the wheelchair, a red brilliance flourished and phoenix cries resounded throughout the world. Within the specks of starlight, a familiar figure appeared and stepped into the battlefield. Chapter 807. In the Ji family, a red figure appeared in the midst of everyone's shock. He calmly swept his gaze over everyone and waved his right hand to disperse the sword energy around Murong. Wait for me outside. Ning Qin said with a gentle expression. With a flip of his palm, he condensed Yuan and sent the former out of the Ji clan. Murong Changkong flew out and looked at the figure that was getting further away. The gentleness in his eyes grew stronger. It turned out that his voice was so pleasant to listen to. Everyone, what does the grudge between you and Prince Qi have to do with that girl? Don't you think it's too much to kill her indiscriminately? Ning Chen indifferently said. She was brought here by Prince Qi and trespassing into the Ji family is a capital offense. How is it too much? Ji Changkong coldly said. Is that so? Ning Chen narrowed his eyes and said, I was also brought here by Prince Qi and trespassed into the Ji family. Should I also die as an apology? If you want to die, we'll fulfill your wish. Ji Changkong took a step forward with murderous intent in his eyes. Understood. Ning Chen softly replied and looked at the black flames in the sky. Prince Qi, are you still not coming out? I've been waiting for you for a long time, Brother Ning. Before he finished speaking, the wind and clouds in the sea of black flames swirled and a handsome figure walked out. The chains shattered and turned into black mist before disappearing. The 4 grand elders of the Ji family were shocked. How could Prince Qi come out unscathed? In a side hall of the Ji family, Ji Yuechu's expression froze as he sensed the changes outside. He put down the chess piece in his hand and stood up. Who is he? Ji Yuechu asked. Mo Gates' 9th son, Ning Chen, Ji Yuqing softly replied. After receiving confirmation, Ji Yuechu nodded lightly. Light flashed in his eyes. This unexpected variable was somewhat troublesome. At the same time, 1,000 miles away from the Ji family, the Dawn Moon Tower's master was shocked but soon recovered. Hong Wan, let's go, she said. Hong Wan recovered from her shock and asked, are we not going to continue watching? No need, the outcome is already decided. The Dawn Moon Tavern master said and turned to leave. Prince Qi and Marquis Jiming were not enough for the Ji clan. If they were to force the issue, the price they would have to pay would be unimaginable. The Ji clan would not make such a stupid choice. He didn't know much about Prince Qi's trump cards, but he knew quite a bit about the Marquis. If he angered this guy, even the Ji clan, one of the 2 branches of the divine bloodline, would lose a layer of skin. In the Ji family, Lin Yuzhen walked out of the sea of fire. Looking at the figures below, she calmly said, how is it? Do you need me to lend you my sword? No need. Ning Chen shook his head and looked behind him. He said, lend your sword to master. 5 kilometers away, reluctantly took out her vermilion sword. She loosened her grip and warned, don't break it. If it breaks, I'll compensate you with a better one. Ning Chen made a grabbing motion with his right hand, and a red light flew out. The moment the red sword entered his hand, it was overflowing with brilliance, and the power of the sword was greatly enhanced. Lin Yuzhen's gaze swept across the 9 black-clothed men and the 4 grand elders of the Ji clan. She said, "How about we switch opponents? You deal with these 9 sneaky fellows." "Sure." Ning Chen nodded. His silhouette flashed as he appeared in the air. "Finish this quickly." "I still have a banquet to attend, so I'm very busy," said Lin Yuzhen calmly. Ning Chen nodded and looked at the 9 black-clothed figures. "It'll be over quickly. Dealing with them won't take too much effort." Lin Yuzhen smiled and didn't say anything else. Her figure flashed and she appeared in front of the 4 grand elders of the Ji clan. The taste of bullying with numbers is really not bad. "Everyone, let the battle begin again," Lin Yuzhen softly said. An instant later, she shot out like lightning. She slashed out with the cry of a phoenix, and her divine power swept out. The 4 grand elders joined hands to block her sword. With a boom, they were all forced back several steps. Seeing the change in the battle, the 9 black-clothed men didn't dare to delay any longer. Chains shot out from their bodies, forming an inescapable net that locked the red-clothed youth in front of them. In an instant, the nether flame appeared once more, and the crisscrossing chains filled the sky. Flames are the best way to purify filth, but they shouldn't be used by you. Ning Chen raised his hand and grabbed the chains. Ignoring the nether flame, he chopped down with his sword. With a bang, all the chains were severed. The fragments of the chains gradually disappeared along with the black nether flame. The nether flame that even true realms didn't dare to touch was actually unable to do anything to the former. In front of the sacred palace, shock flashed across the Ji clan's grand elder's face. Why? Why was it like this? Whoosh! Without the protection of the nether flame, the 9 half-step true realm black-clothed men were like fangless beasts. They could no longer bare their fangs and brandish their claws. Sword light flashed, and the sky was dyed red. It was so fast that people couldn't even see its afterimage. When the red-clothed youth appeared again, he was already in front of the Ji clan's sacred palace. Behind him, blood spurted out like rain. The heads of the 9 black-clothed figures flew into the air. Even in death, they didn't see what had happened. "I'll tell you why." Ning Chen looked at the shocked white-clothed elder in front of him and said calmly, "When have you ever heard of a phoenix fearing flames? Nether flame is just a flame with a slightly higher temperature." Just as he finished speaking, Lin Yuzhen, who had sent 4 grand elders of the Ji clan flying with her sword, walked over and looked at the 2 people in front of the sacred hall. She said, "Now it's really bullying with numbers. Brother Ning, you don't mind, right?" "I don't mind," Ning Chen answered calmly. Although it wasn't impossible for him to face this old man alone, there was no need to waste his energy when he could bully him with numbers. Lin Yuzhen smiled faintly and stepped forward, instantly arriving in front of the sacred palace. She struck out with her palm, starting the battle. Ji Baichuan's expression darkened. He condensed True Yuan in his palm and blocked the former's palm. When the 2 forces clashed, an earth-shattering sound rang out. The stone steps between the 2 collapsed. Even the array's protection was useless. In the aftermath, Ji Baichuan grunted and took half a step back. He flipped his palm and gathered True Yuan again, forcibly activating the immortal cauldron floating in the sky. In an instant, a green-gold light fell down like a waterfall. "Cauldron? I have one too," Ning Chen sneered. A phoenix shadow appeared behind him, and a broken green cauldron flew out. After grabbing it, it smashed into the sky. With a rumble, the 2 cauldrons collided. The ear-piercing sound of the collision resounded through the world. Everyone in White Emperor City covered their ears from the shocking sound. After the collision, the light of the immortal cauldron in the sky quickly dimmed, no longer as powerful as before. The green cauldron fell from the sky. The phoenix shadow opened its mouth and swallowed it. Ning Chen walked in front of the two and raised the sword in his hand. The sword light was piercing to the bone. Blood kept dripping from the corner of Ji Baichuan's mouth. After receiving Prince Qi's palm and the backlash from the immortal cauldron, his body was seriously injured. Prince Qi, you should do it. I don't like to kill people. Looking at the seriously injured elder in front of him, Ning Chen dropped the sword in his hand. The blood on the sword that hadn't dried dripped down drop by drop, dyeing the stone steps red. Chapter 808. The battle in front of the Ji family's sacred hall had ended. Unexpectedly, the Ji family had suffered a crushing defeat. Blood dyed every inch of the ground. The Ji family's first elder was heavily injured, and the immortal cauldron in the air had lost its luster. Ning Chen put down his sword, leaving the decision of life and death to the woman beside him. The corners of Lin Yuzhen's mouth curved into a beautiful arc. This young Master Ning was really smart. Raising the Phoenix Cry sword, Lin Yuzhen stared at the old man in front of her with unconcealed killing intent. Ji Baichuan, reincarnate into a good family. The Ji family isn't suitable for an idiot like you. Lin Yuzhen's Phoenix Cry sword slashed at the old man. At this moment, a greenish-white figure walked out of a side hall. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the sacred hall and clasped the Phoenix Cry sword between his fingers. Prince Qi, please show mercy, said Ji Yuechu. Sacred Master. Seeing the figure in front of the sacred hall, the Ji family's experts endured their injuries and half-knelt. You can all leave and heal yourselves, said Ji Yuechu calmly. Yes. Everyone hesitated for a moment before respectfully accepting the order. First Elder, you can also leave and heal yourself. Ji Yuechu glanced at the people behind him. Ji Baichuan clenched his fists, but in the end, he loosened them and bowed before leaving. After everyone left, Ji Yuqing walked over from afar. Looking at the red-robed young man in front of the palace, a smile appeared on her beautiful face. She said, Master Bai, how have you been? Miss Ji, please don't blame me. The situation back then was special, so I had to use a fake name. I apologize to you. Ning Chen cupped his fists. Prince Ning is too polite. I was just joking. Ji Yuqing smiled. So little brother Ning is familiar with my daughter. Why don't you come in and have a chat? Ji Yuechu smiled. Ning Chen glanced at Prince Qi, and a strange smile appeared on his face. Your Highness Prince Qi, I've completed my mission. Go in and have some tea. Please help yourself. Ning Chen didn't say anything else and walked into the hall. Yuqing, go greet the guests first, said Ji Yuechu. Yes. Ji Yuqing nodded and walked towards the holy palace together. The Ji clan is truly worthy of being a divine bloodline inheritance. They are truly imposing. Ning Chen's gaze swept across the furnishings in the hall as he chuckled softly. Young Master Ning, you must be joking. Ji Yuqing walked to the side and prepared a cup of tea. Bringing it over, she gently said, Miss Ruoshi said the young lord likes to drink tea, so I've prepared some. Please have a taste. Many thanks. Ning Chen nodded and took the tea. He took a sip and nodded. It's really good tea. I've made Miss Ji spend a lot of money. Young Master Ning doesn't need to be so polite. A few days ago, Miss Qing came to pick up Ruoshi. I thought young Master Ning really wouldn't come. I didn't expect young Master Ning to surprise us in such a way. Ji Yuqing smiled. Indeed, she was delayed by something. Where's Wule? Why hasn't she come out when the fight outside was so fierce? Ning Chen asked. Miss Wule is at a critical stage of her breakthrough. She's currently in seclusion. The place she's at is protected by a formation so she doesn't know what's going on outside. Ji Yuqing softly replied. Many thanks Miss Ji for taking care of the two girls over the years. I've troubled Miss G. Ning Chen put down the teacup. It's nothing. Ji Yuqing poured another cup of tea and handed it over. Looking at the holy palace, she whispered, young Master Ning doesn't seem to care about the situation outside at all. Aren't you afraid Prince Qi and my father will fight again? They won't fight. Ning Chen smiled and said, if I'm not wrong, your father and Prince Qi had planned everything that happened today. Their goal should be to beat up that first elder of yours. The only exception is my appearance. Oh. Ji Yuqing's expression turned serious. How did you see through that? It's very simple. Although this battle was very intense, none of the Ji family's grand elders were harmed. The only things that were destroyed were a few broken carriages. The reason Prince Qi wanted to exchange opponents with me was probably because he was worried I wouldn't understand the situation and would kill the Ji family's grand elders, said Ning Chen softly. Ji Yuqing's eyes flashed with extraordinary splendor. She praised, young master's wisdom is truly unparalleled in the world. You were able to deduce Lord Father and Prince Qi's plan from just these little clues. You praise me too much. Ning Chen smiled. I've seen and used such methods before, so I'm not unfamiliar with them. The two of you outside should be about done with your act. I think I should leave. Ji Yuqing was startled and tried to persuade him to stay. Young master rarely visits. Why don't you stay for a few days? No need. Ning Chen stood up and shook his head. I still have some matters that I can't leave for now. Moreover, you and your father will have many things to take care of in the next few days. I presume you won't have time to take care of me. Ji Yuqing didn't try to persuade him to stay. She nodded and said, since that's the case, then you should go take care of your own matters. I hope that once you're done with your matters, you can come visit the Ji family as a guest. Yuqing will also be a good host. Definitely. Ning Chen cupped his fists and bowed. He then turned and walked out of the hall. Lin Yuzhen was silently waiting outside the hall. When she saw him, she asked, Brother Ning, are you leaving? Yes. Ning Chen nodded. What about Her Highness? Has the matter been resolved? It has. Lin Yuzhen nodded. That's good. Let's go together. Ning Chen smiled. Lin Yuzhen waved her hand and put away her phoenix cry sword. They walked out of the Ji family together. In front of the sacred hall, Ji Yuqing stood silently. Looking at the two people walking away, a trace of emotion flashed across her face. Young Master Ning's appearance had truly exceeded her and her father's expectations. Fortunately, they had formed a good relationship back then. Otherwise, today's situation would have been very difficult to control. This child is incredible. True realm experts are rare, and extreme Dao experts are even rarer. Daughter, if you choose him, father will support you. At some point, Ji Yuechu had appeared behind her with a smile. Ji Yuqing came back to her senses, her face slightly red. She calmed herself down and said, Father must be joking. Young Master Ning already has a sweetheart. I'm just friends with him. Mo Gate's ninth son is a smart person. He has made many enemies, so he knows better than anyone what choice he should make. As long as you agree, I think it won't be difficult, said Ji Yuechu calmly. Ji Yuqing gently shook her head. Father doesn't understand him. Young Master Ning is different from ordinary people. Although the Ji family is large, it can't be the reason for him to change his mind. Let nature take its course. Feelings can't be forced. Ji Yuechu looked into the distance and didn't say anything else. He truly did admire this child. At such a young age, he already had such shocking strength. He wasn't any weaker than Prince Qi. If he could enter the Ji family, in the future, the Ji family would truly become the king of Spirit Void. Outside the Ji family, Yin had been waiting for a long time. She had been walking around the wheelchair for almost an hour. Yin, At this moment, a familiar voice rang out in front of her. It was so clear that it entered the little girl's ears. Er's body shook. She turned her head, tears pouring out of her large eyes. She immediately threw herself over. You're finally awake. Woo woo, Ning Chen was almost knocked down. Looking at the girl in his arms, he reached out and rubbed the latter's hair. With a gentle expression, he said, you should be happy that you're awake. Why are you crying? Er raised her head and wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. She sobbed twice and said, you don't know how hard it was for me when you were unconscious. I had to push the wheelchair every day and couldn't go out to play. You have to make it up to me. Ha! Ning Chen chuckled. I know it's hard for you. When I'm done, I'll accompany you to play. You have to keep your word. Er sobbed. You have to keep your word. Ning Chen nodded lightly. On the side, Lin Yuzhen watched the conversation between the two with a trace of a smile. Now she finally understood why this girl had such a good master and talent, but her cultivation was still so sloppy. If the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. She even suspected that this Ning Chen didn't properly teach this girl to cultivate. Miss Qing and Miss Ruo Shi are also here. It's just that it's not suitable to appear here. Let's go back to Phoenix Cry City first. Lin Yuzhen said. Ning Chen nodded and patted the head of the girl in his embrace. Let's go. Took a step back and came out of the former's embrace. She looked at the woman beside the wheelchair and said, that's Big Sister Murong. You being able to wake up is all thanks to Big Sister Murong. Murong stood beside the wheelchair with a reserved expression. Her gaze was evasive and she didn't know what to say. Ning Chen walked forward and stretched out his hand. His expression was gentle. Murong, let's go. Murong's body trembled and her palms were covered in sweat. After a moment, she finally gathered her courage and placed her hand in the former's. Lin Yuzhen faintly smiled and walked forward. Ning Chen, I want a new sword. Er ran forward and hugged the arm of the person beside her. Don't you already have one? Ning Chen softly asked. Other masters give their disciples many treasures. You only gave me a wooden sword, pouted. Didn't I also give you that hairpin on your head? It's better than any treasure. Ning Chen smiled. This hairpin is just a piece of jewelry. It doesn't count. Forcefully quibbled. Then I also gave you a heavenly book. This counts as a treasure. Ning Chen continued. That's a cultivation technique. It also doesn't count. Curled her lips. All right then. My things should all be with Big Sister Qing Ning. You can pick whatever you like. Ning Chen softly smiled. Vigorously shook her head. I've already seen them. They're all ugly. I don't want them. On the side, Murong covered her mouth and laughed. She had heard from Qing Ning that was an extremely difficult girl to deal with. Today, she had seen it for herself. Amidst the chattering of the maidservants, the three of them returned to Phoenix Cry City not long after. Within Phoenix Cry City, people came and went. A beautiful figure in a blue dress stood there. Although many years had passed, her appearance hadn't changed. However, she had become much older. I'm back. Ning Chen stopped in the middle of the crowd and smiled at the woman in front of him. Chapter 809. At Phoenix Cry Palace, the group of people returned. Lin Yuzhen adjusted her breathing and waited for the people from the Qilin Pavilion to arrive. In Yunchuan's courtyard, Qing Ning looked at the red-clothed young man in front of her and said, Prince Qi has done his best for your matter. This trip to the Qilin Pavilion might be troublesome. You should go with him. Okay. Ning Chen nodded. This is your sword. Qing Ning took out an ancient long sword and handed it over. She said seriously, "This is the sword of the 49 leaders of the Tao sects. You're just keeping it for me. Don't damage it." "I understand." Ning Chen took the Taisher sword and turned to walk toward the Phoenix Cry Palace. Inside the Phoenix Cry Hall, a strange look flashed across Lin Yuzhen's eyes when she saw the former walking over. She said, "You just woke up. Aren't you going to rest for a while?" "Sister Qing Ning asked me to accompany your highness to the Qilin Pavilion, so I had no choice but to come," Ning Chen said. "Thank you for your concern, Miss Qing. This prince can go by myself. A mere Qilin Pavilion can't do anything to this prince." Lin Yuzhen's expression slightly congealed. "I can't make this decision. I don't dare to disobey Sister Qing Ning. If your highness doesn't want me to go, please tell her yourself," Ning Chen said with a smile. As these words fell, outside Phoenix Cry Palace, clouds tumbled and a golden carriage descended from the skies. Two maids respectfully bowed and said, "Your Highness Prince Qi, the pavilion master invites you in." Lin Yuzhen narrowed her eyes, sighed softly, and walked out of the hall. Ning Chen followed with his sword in hand. "Young master, the pavilion master has only invited His Highness Prince Qi," said a servant girl. Lin Yuzhen stopped and said calmly, "This is this prince's personal bodyguard. Could it be that your pavilion also wants to control this prince's personal bodyguard?" "I don't dare." The maidservant who had stopped them earlier lowered her head and said. Ning Chen smiled and followed Prince Qi into the imperial carriage. In the next moment, the chariot flew up and turned into a golden stream of light that shot toward the horizon. The starry sky was brilliant. The imperial chariot continuously tore through the void. In a flash, it was already 10,000 miles away. "Does your highness know where the Qilin Pavilion is?" On the imperial carriage, Ning Chen looked at Prince Qi, who was dressed as a man, and opened his mouth to speak. Lin Yuzhen lightly shook her head and said, "I only know that the Qilin Pavilion is in the Spirit Void Star region, but I'm not clear of its exact location." "How is this Qilin Pavilion compared to the Ji family?" Ning Chen continued to ask. "Of the 11 legendary inheritances, other than the strongest one, the palace, the other 9 inheritances don't appear in any particular order. The 4 pavilions don't appear often, so no one knows how strong they are." Speaking until here, Lin Yuzhen's gaze looked towards the 2 maids in front of the imperial carriage and said, "The cultivation of these 2 people are both at the peak of the Void Realm, yet they only have the status of maids in the Qilin Pavilion. It can be seen that this Qilin Pavilion is not inferior to the Ji family." Ning Chen nodded. He had some experience with the power of the Ji clan. The Ji clan Holy Lord had not made a move, so the power of the Holy Lord's bloodline should not have been used either. Even so, the power that the Ji clan had displayed was already very shocking. In addition to those things that could not see the light of day, it was not strange that the Ji clan could become the overlord of the Spirit Void Realm. For this Qilin Pavilion to be equally famous as the Ji family, they were certainly not easy to deal with. Furthermore, the Qilin Pavilion had chosen the time when Prince Qi and the Ji family were in conflict to send out the invitation. It was obvious that they were plotting something. At the side, Lin Yuzhen gazed silently at the starry sky outside the chariot with a deep gaze. She knew that the Qilin Pavilion most likely did not have good intentions, but before they became hostile, she did not want to offend such a colossus. Facing a Ji family already made her feel strained. If it was possible, she did not want to have another Qilin Pavilion. Ning Chen's gaze looked towards the person beside him, and after a moment, he withdrew his gaze. Actually, Prince Qi was very similar to him back then, similarly unable to act independently. He had people that he wanted to protect, and Prince Qi was the same. There were some things that one clearly knew shouldn't be done, but one had no choice but to do it. Ning Chen looked at the sword in his hand and lightly sighed. When he first learned the sword, it was originally for self-protection, but now, it had truly become a killing weapon. Sister Qing Ning had asked him to follow along, and her motive was already very obvious. The favor that should be repaid, must be repaid. Your Highness, how much power do you still have left? Ning Chen opened his mouth and asked. 50%. Lin Yuzhen did not hide anything and truthfully said. Ning Chen was silent, and after a moment, he calmly said, if the Qilin Pavilion makes trouble, I will protect your Highness thoroughly. When Lin Yuzhen heard what was said, she was first startled, but soon after, she regained her senses and her face revealed a moving smile. She did not know how many years had it been since she had heard this sentence. Then many thanks, Brother Ning. Lin Yuzhen lightly smiled. 100 years ago, she had chosen to befriend this person because she saw that he had never abandoned that Lady Xinu. Therefore, when he had put down his pride and went to Shumi Buddhist kingdom to seek Buddha, she had chosen to take a gamble and blocked those venerables for him. Now, it seemed that she had made the right bet. She had seen too many ungrateful people, and one could not ask for timely help. If one could ask for it, they would cherish it for the rest of their lives. As the two of them were talking, in the starry sky in front of them, a grayish-white fog appeared, spreading for tens of thousands of miles and covering the world. The imperial carriage tore through the void and disappeared. When it reappeared, it was already in the depths of the fog. In the depths of the fog, there were many floating palaces, like stars surrounding the moon. The centermost palace was 300 meters tall and was as majestic as a mountain. We've arrived. Your Highness, please. The imperial carriage stopped, and two maids respectfully said. Lin Yuzhen stood up and walked out of the imperial carriage. Looking at the huge palace in front of her, her eyes narrowed slightly. Whether it was a blessing or a curse, she would soon know. Ning Chen followed at the side, his gaze sweeping across the surrounding arrangements, carefully memorizing them in his heart. One should not have the heart to harm others, but one should always have the heart to guard against others. The more prepared one was, the more chance one had. Blind confidence would only lead to faster death. Please follow us. The two maids spoke. Immediately, they led the way towards the hall in the middle. Lin Yuzhen retracted her gaze and followed. Her eyes became more serious, and she did not dare to be careless. Qilin Sacred Hall, inside the majestic palace, a dignified middle-aged man sat on the main seat. His powerful aura distorted the void, causing people to look sideways. The two maids led the two of them into the palace, bowed respectfully, and left. Peak of the true realm. Ning Chen looked at the middle-aged man on the main seat and narrowed his eyes. Another supreme expert close to the fourth realm. This person was probably not weaker than the Ji clan's sacred master. Greetings to the pavilion master. Lin Yuzhen cupped her fists and greeted politely. You are a guest from afar. Prince Qi, there is no need to be so polite. Please sit. The Qilin pavilion master said calmly. Lin Yuzhen thanked him and stepped into the seat. Ning Chen followed and stood behind Prince Qi. He did not say a word from beginning to end, appearing very ordinary. I took the liberty to invite your Highness here. Please forgive me. This cup of wine is my welcome for your Highness. On the main seat, the Qilin pavilion master picked up a cup of wine and said. Pavilion master is too polite. Lin Yuzhen smiled and picked up the cup in front of her. It should be this prince thanking pavilion master for the invitation. The Qilin pavilion master smiled and drank the wine in his cup. Lin Yuzhen's eyes flashed, and she also drank the wine. Your Highness has a good tolerance for alcohol. As expected, women are not inferior to men. The Qilin pavilion master smiled. Pavilion master is too kind. Lin Yuzhen put down the cup in her hand and said, Forgive this prince for being rude, but may I know why pavilion master has invited this prince here? The Qilin pavilion master smiled faintly and said unhurriedly, Actually, it's not a big matter. It's just that I've heard of Prince Qi's name for a long time and never had the chance to meet you. Today, I'm fortunate enough to invite your highness here for a few drinks. Also, at this point, the Qilin Pavilion Master also put down the cup in his hand and said calmly, by the way, I'd like to ask if your highness Prince Qi is interested in seeing the mysteries of the fourth realm. Lin Yuzhen narrowed her eyes when she heard this, but there was not much excitement on her face. No one had stepped into the fourth realm for many years, and the existence of this realm had almost become a legend. It would be a lie to say that she was not tempted. However, there was no gratuitous favor in this world. She was more concerned about the price she had to pay. How about it? I think your highness is also very interested in how to step into the fourth realm, the Qilin Pavilion Master said calmly. It's true that I'm interested, but the price should also be quite high, Lin Yuzhen said indifferently. It's not difficult for Prince Qi. The Qilin Pavilion Master looked outside the hall and said, Spirit Void only needs one pavilion. Does your highness understand what I'm saying? Lin Yuzhen heard this before and her heart shook as she looked at the man on the main seat. The words of this Qilin Pavilion Master were truly world-shocking. There were numerous life stars in the Spirit Void star region, and the sects were even more immeasurable. For the Qilin Pavilion to want to become the king of a region, it was undoubtedly a pipe dream. Apologies, this prince is unable to do what Pavilion Master requested. This prince has no fate to see the secrets of the fourth realm. Lin Yuzhen stood up and declined. She could not get involved in this muddy water. She was not conceited enough to make an enemy out of an entire region. Your Highness, why are you so impatient? This prince has not finished speaking. The Qilin Pavilion Master's expression was the same as before. This matter is naturally not something that can be done in a day or two. This prince also knows the difficulty involved. However, as long as Prince Qi agrees to cooperate with the Qilin Pavilion, this matter is not an impossible matter. Cooperation. Lin Yuzhen sat down and picked up the wine cup again. She said indifferently, just by agreeing to cooperate, Pavilion Master is willing to gift me the mysteries of stepping into the fourth realm. I believe that there isn't such a cheap thing in this world. Your Highness is unduly undervaluing yourself. An ultimate powerhouse who has hopes of stepping into the fourth realm is the world's rarest wealth at any time. Of course, after speaking, the Qilin Pavilion Master's tone changed and continued, there are many ways to cooperate. The cooperation that this prince is talking about is not an ordinary alliance relationship. Oh. Lin Yuzhen's expression darkened. Then what does Pavilion Master mean? Marriage alliance, the Qilin Pavilion Master said slowly. Crack. With a crisp sound, the wine cup in Lin Yuzhen's hand shattered. The wine spilled out and spilled everywhere. The Qilin Pavilion Master acted as if he did not see it and said calmly, let the young Pavilion Master come over. Yes. In the hall, a maid respectfully accepted the order and turned to walk towards the back of the hall. Not long after, a handsome young man walked out from the back of the hall. He came to the hall and bowed. Father. This is Prince Qi of the Baiki Empire, the Qilin Pavilion Master said. Greetings, Your Highness Prince Qi. Lin Chaoyin smiled and bowed. On the main seat, the Qilin Pavilion Master looked at Prince Qi, who was dressed in men's clothing. He said calmly, how is it? As long as Prince Qi nods, this prince will tell you all the methods to step into the fourth realm. During the banquet, Lin Yuzhen threw away the wine cup in her hand and gently wiped away the wine stains on her hand. She immediately stood up and said indifferently, Brother Ning, let's go. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.